Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. The show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 50 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show for April 2021. April Fool's Day, everybody. Who would have thought? Well, my name is Jonathan Leung, and I'm the producer, director, and editor here at Arcade Repair Tips. And joining me today, as always, is Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Peterson. Tim, how you doing?
Hey, John. Doing pretty good.
Good. So, I think we got everything working here. Talk for me.
Testing. Hello,
I think the people can hear you. So, Tim, okay. It looks like we're gonna have a good show tonight. We've already got the outline all set up, and but before we get into all that, how are you doing? What's going on with you?
Oh, just I think I don't know what happened, but I guess everybody got their stimulus checks and all decided to just take them and their cousins and best friends all the Dairy Queen. We have been so busy. I really have put in a lot of hours lately, so if I'm dragging a little tonight, guys, I'm sorry. I'm waking up slowly. I got my Coke here to give me a little caffeine surge, but it's just been a busy time, but that's good. Good business means good bonuses and things like that, so looking forward to the show tonight.
Absolutely, Tim, and we're always glad to have you here, and hopefully we can answer some questions. Now, there's been a lot of things that have happened today. It is April Fool's Day, Tim, like we mentioned, and so did you have any April Fool's jokes played on you by chance?
Dairy Queen released a post that said we were coming out with a new ice cream sandwich that actually had a burger in the middle and a foot-long hot dog banana split or something, and I was like, nobody told me about this, and I thought about it. I was like, oh, this is April Fool's, so it was an April Fool's joke, and I thought, I didn't order any of this stuff. Why didn't they tell me about it?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's all, you know how it is, Tim. It's April Fool's Day. Everybody's trying to get their jokes in. Now, I'm noticing, guys, that we may be having some problems with the stream, so I'm sorry about the video. Hopefully, it's going to clear up as we go on. We didn't stream. Typically, Tim, we usually stream for a little bit longer before we actually get into this. Oh, and you know what, Tim? I just noticed. I think I'm streaming at a higher bit rate than normal. So that may be part of it, too. I don't know if I can take it down at this point. Let me see real quick. It's too late, guys. Yeah, we're going. So this is 1080p, and I think, Tim, this is why we don't do 1080p. So I tell you what, let me go ahead. Guys, I'm actually going to stop the stream for a minute, and then we're going to come back because I don't want you guys to have a bad experience. So let me stop the stream real quick, and we'll be right back. Okay, let's see if we're back yet. We'll give it a second. Are we back? Can you guys hear us? Mm-hmm. It says good now. I'm hoping it is. Somebody in the live chat say something if you can hear us.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
I'm waiting on the live chat. Okay, we're good. Okay, good. It looks like we're back. Okay, we just got your confirmations in the live chat. Thanks, everybody. I had been testing the 1080p streaming, and as you could see, the video was pretty choppy, which is why we don't do 1080p or higher, Tim, is because it doesn't work very well. But hopefully, this looks good and is nice and smooth, so we'll continue with this. Well, guys, it sounds like Tim had a very interesting April Fool's Day with his ice cream sandwich burger. Is that the way to say it?
Yeah.
Okay. We also had an April Fool's joke on the Arcade Repair Tips website, but we'll get into that a little bit later in the show, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Exactly. So now, Tim, let's go ahead and look over at the live chat, and it looks like we have a lot of people here. We got Barricade is here. He's saying looking forward to the show. We have YouTube Punk. We have the Real Hammer Billy Lee. We have Rejected Maniac is here, Tim. Just a whole bunch. Danny Ransom's here. Whole bunch of people in the live chat. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Remember that you can interact with us during the show by leaving your comments and questions in the live chat. We always appreciate that. And if you'd like to donate, you can hit the super chat button, or you can go to arcaderepairtips.com/donate. Donations are always appreciated. Not required, of course, but we always appreciate when you guys donate. Now, Tim, speaking of donations, I do want to make people aware that may have been watching the show the last couple of months that we were collecting money for our friend Louie, who passed away. A lot of people know he was our live chat moderator. He was also one of our Facebook moderators. But Tim, what happened to the money that we collected? And just give an update if you can.
Well, originally I wanted to send it to his fiance or his mother to help with any kind of cost they could have incurred, or just kind of an extra help. But they made me swear that I would not send them any money, but instead that I would donate to a charity that was children's related. Evidently, Louis really liked kids and to help stuff like that. So I chose, Dairy Queen is also a sponsor of the Children's Miracle Network. So the money that we took in, we donated to the Children's Miracle Network and was able to deposit that straight into their account because of Dairy Queen. So it was kind of an easier one for me to get the money straight into their hands and all of it. And so that's what we chose to do in honor of Louis. I want to thank everybody who donated, and even thank his mom for even her generosity in this time. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers as they continue. It was such a shock to all of us as they continue to grieve. And it was good to talk to them and let them know that, the arcade community was thinking about them and stuff. But I chose that I thought would be the best use of the money that we took in and donated in his memory.
Absolutely, Tim. And it looks like the stream may be down, so it may be catching up here, Tim. We'll give it a second. For those of you guys who may be watching, it looks like some people are still getting it and some people aren't. So if you guys are having a minute, hopefully it'll catch up here in a second. Just all sorts of stream problems today, Tim. We do record this, so even if you're watching it after the fact, then you'll get it. But hopefully it'll come back here in a second as we continue on. Tim, I'm still seeing the stream health is excellent, but when I look at it on the thing, it's actually given me a little bit of a timeout. So we'll just continue on here. It says up and running. I had to refresh earlier, maybe because we had to drop the stream there temporarily, Tim. Some people may be having some issues. So
yeah, maybe they need to get out and come back in.
Yeah, you may need to leave and come back in. I'm sorry about that, guys. Again, we were testing the 1080p streaming, but obviously that isn't working very well. So like I said, it's even doing it on this end, but as long as you guys can hear us, and it looks like most of you guys can, then we should have some problems, or hopefully it'll solve itself here, Tim. I don't want to have to redo it, but we may end up doing that. So we'll just continue to monitor the live chat and kind of see what's going on with that. I don't want to get too far into the show because of that, though, Tim. So maybe we'll wait just a second here. If you guys can hear us, just give us some. Somebody says Jonathan crossed the streams. I think that's YouTube Punk. Yeah, I think I crossed the streams accidentally, guys. That's what I get for doing that. So just say something in the live chat if you guys can hear us. So just say I don't know. What's a good keyword, Tim? Give us something. DQ.
Yeah, if you heard the DQ or April Fools, we could do April Fools.
Yeah. So if you hear us right now, type DQ or April Fools into the live chat to let us know. So, it looks like everybody's good now. Okay, it looks like we're looking good. I see closed and reopened. It's good now. I'm still having a little bit of issues here on my end, which is weird. But like I said, I think we can roll with it. I'm going to see if we get any DQs or what was the other thing we said? April Fools. Any DQs or April Fools in the live chat real quick.
Suddenly playing a trick on us.
Exactly. Oh, I see a DQ. Okay, I think we're good to go.
Okay.
So, again, internet guys, you got to love it, right? So, and of course, it doesn't help that I upscaled everything. So, but the fact that we got a DQ is good. So, okay, well, we'll continue on. And thanks, guys, for bearing with our technical issues. Hopefully, going forward, we will be good, but we'll just fly with what we got. And like I said, we always record it as well now. So if for some reason you missed part of the show, don't worry. We can put up the full version if we need to. But, Tim, before we get into questions, I do want to mention that we had a couple of new posts on the website this month. So we had an article, and we also had a new interviews podcast. So let me go ahead and mention those before we move on to the rest of our stuff. The first thing I'm going to mention here, Tim, is that we had the Getting Familiar with the CHAMA Standard article that was now posted. And, Tim, a lot of people may not know the difference between CHAMA and JAMA, and that's what this article is basically written to help people with. And CHAMA, Tim, is really the Chinese version of JAMA that's been used on the Game Elves and Pandora's Box boards and the other Chinese multi-game, multi-fighter boards that you see out there. And so, just to make sure people know the difference between CHAMA and JAMA, we wrote this article. Actually, I wrote it. We put it out there, and I think it does a pretty good job of identifying the differences. And really just comes down to wiring, right, Tim? Because the pins are the same.
Yeah, they're very similar, but especially if you're new, it could be a little bit confusing, or it won't work and you don't know why. that could be why. It'd be a good article to check out.
Absolutely. Before I move on, I see, what's Jonathan's shirt say? It says, for the love of the game. This is actually a Dave & Buster's shirt. So I won this, which means it cost me $50. But no, me and Tim are pretty good at getting tickets, so I don't think it cost that much, Tim. I think we actually did pretty good that day. Michael says his wife Danny is watching. She said hi. Hi, Danny. Thanks for watching. Rejected Maniac says Chama harness diagram is very helpful. I have a Chulix. Yeah, so if you guys are wiring like a Vuelix or a Chulix type cabinet, a lot of times, you want to wire those Chama because you want to put a Pandora's box in them. That's what that article is really about. So, and then Tim, let me go ahead and get to the second new post that we had on the website, and that was the Interviews podcast. So I'll go ahead and put it up on the screen here. The Interviews podcast, I actually got 2 episodes done, Tim. We did the first one with Paul Giray, if you remember, and this one I actually did with Gary Burton and Vic Sage. And Tim, you've met Gary in person, correct?
Yes, he was coming through Tyler, Texas, and dropped into Mr. Gaddy's and saw me when I worked there.
Exactly. So, and Gary basically is one of the techs at Arcadia Retrocade in Arkansas, and Vic Sage is kind of their historian there. I think he also runs the Diary of an Arcade Employee podcast, if you guys are interested in that. But we talked to them about their experiences with the different games that they have at Arcadia Retrocade, how many games they have. Tim, they have over 260 games.
Wow.
And you know how hard it is to keep 40 or 50 up, but can you imagine 260? So, I mean, that's really what amazed me. What now?
It's hard to keep 4 or 5 working all the time at my house.
Absolutely. And so this interview basically talks about how they do that. Now, something I don't know if you knew about Gary, Tim, was that he used to work at Aladdin's Castle as well.
Nice.
So those people who have fond memories of Aladdin's Castle, he actually was a manager at one for 2 years. So if you want to hear a little bit about that, he also talks about the worst thing that ever happened to one of their games, and apparently it was a game where a pink strawberry milkshake had poured into the vents on the back of the game and got all over the board. And he talks about how he repaired that in the interview. So if you're interested to hear that story, make sure you check out Interviews Podcast Episode 2. I thought it was fun to talk to those guys, had a really good time, and look forward to maybe meeting up with them one day. I mean, Fayetteville's not that far away from us, right, Tim?
No, not too far.
So hopefully at some point we can meet up with Gary Burton and Vic Sage in person. And they are open right now too, Tim. And it's a $5 all-day play arcade, which is really good. I mean, for $5 for a day of play, that's pretty cheap to me.
That's really cheap.
Yeah, so again, if you're anywhere in the area, I highly suggest you check out Arcadia Retrocade. But thank you to Gary Burton and Vic Sage for their time and for the interview. And make sure you check out our podcast feed or our website if you want to check out that interview. Really good stuff. Let's see.
Yeah, $5 for all day. I charge the kids in the neighborhood more than that just for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, it just depends on the kids, I guess, Tim. So, but anyway, do you have anything else, Tim, before we move on?
No, let's get the show started.
Let's do this thing then. Okay, well, our first question we have is from Jay, so I'm going to throw Jay's question up here. He says, "Hey guys, I wonder if you can help me out with something. I recently acquired a Police Trainer arcade cabinet that's missing the power supply. Everything else seems to be there. Do either of you have an idea of what power supply it uses? From its position on cabinet, it appears to be similar to a PC power supply instead of a standard arcade power supply. Any help would be greatly appreciated." So, Tim, I think we can guess from Jay's question here that he's probably not looking at a standard switching power supply and probably more of an ATX style power supply, correct?
Yeah, and that's pretty common. Everybody can see your Police Trainer over there.
Actually, they can't. It's right here. You're blocking it. It's behind Tim.
I can see. All right.
Yeah. Well, Tim can see
we
it.
do have some experience with them, and we've seen both. But being that he could recognize the connectors look like they would connect something like that, he's right. And generally, it's kind of like monitors. You can put a computer power supply in there, but it's better to buy one for arcade games. They hook up easier, like something like a Peter Chow or something that lasts longer, or a Suzo Hap one. They're specifically made for gaming, so I would highly recommend that instead of just taking one out of a computer. Also, they're a little bit bigger, usually a little higher wattage. They handle a little bit more. A bigger fan, stuff that's going to keep them cool is the main issue to me. you put a small one in there, a lot of times it gets really hot inside your cabinet, and that can do a lot of damage to a power supply. So a lot of them are bigger, although they're not a super high wattage. The reason they're bigger is because they have a bigger fan on them, and they're made for arcade games.
Absolutely. Now, Tim, you also mentioned about using a PC power supply. The thing about a PC power supply is that the connectors will not be the same, correct?
Right. You're going to have to do some reconnecting more than likely, and that's kind of irritating too. Or you will have trouble getting it to come on automatically.
Right. You'd have to jumper the wires in the ATX.
Right, correct. I'm sure you're going to show the slide. It's got square. You know, it does look like one. They usually are bigger.
Absolutely. So let me go ahead and show this real quick, guys. I'm going to throw this up here. So from your description, like Tim mentioned, it sounds like your police trainer is using an ATX-style switching power supply. These are common in newer games that were produced from the late 90s up until today. These typically have higher output wattage than what a standard switching power supply would have that are used in like the older games. And so that's something really to keep in mind here. And so, Tim, the one that we have here is from Twisted Quarter, and it's a 200-watt power supply. And this one's very commonly used in a lot of light gun games such as Houses of the Dead. I'm not 100% sure that this is the one that Jay needs, because it may be that the one that Jay is looking at may have a little bit different connectors on it. But if he sends us a picture of it, we can give him a little bit better idea on that. Unfortunately, he did not, so I'm just kind of stabbing in the dark here. But I just know that this 200-watter is one that's used in a lot of light gun arcade games. And Tim, we have the link there. This is on Twisted Quarter's website. And like I said, not for sure this is the one you need, Jay, but probably something close to it. Now, there are some other ones with some different connectors and things. So if you need additional help, please contact us and let us know. But pictures are worth 1,000 words, right, Tim?
Yeah, and I would say this, Jonathan, that... you know, I mean, we know a lot about games, but not every single game. If you call up HAP Supply or you check the manual, a lot of times it will tell you what part number or whatever. A lot of times it was already a HAP part number or something. But HAP has always been good in the past about saying, oh, you had a Sega Turbo or whatever, it takes this kind of power supply normally. They have a kind of a list of that kind of stuff. So I do recommend getting the one that was kind of original for the game, if possible.
Gotcha. So, I mean, yeah, if he can find a part number or something like that, he may be able to cross-reference that with Suzo HAP, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good. So, Jay, hopefully answers your question, but if you do need additional help, please contact us and let us know. We can help you out further. A picture, if you will, can help us identify it as well. Okay, Tim, we got a couple of things in the live chat real quick. We have, let's see... It looks like Gertie Music says, first of all, you guys are awesome. I just bought a Miss Pac-Man stand-up, and I'm wanting to put a 60-in-1 in there, but I want to take out the old monitor and put in a new one. Can I put any monitor I want? Actually, pretty much you can, right, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, yes. The simple answer is yes. You're going to have to do some conversions with certain ones that make it a little tougher, like a Sanyo EZ or something. I would highly recommend... that you replace it either with something brand new, like an LCD if that's okay with you, or trying to rebuild what you currently have. It just will make it hook up easier. They all hook up a little bit different. So, you know, I have one in the garage I'm working on, has a Wells Gardner 4600 in it, and I could put a different kind in there, but it's easier for me just to take the cards out and rebuild them. A lot easier.
So, Tim, but he also mentioned he wanted to do 60-in-1. So with the 60-in-1, he could also just go the VGA cable route and use any computer monitor for the most part, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And again, if he's listened to our show very much, we're going to highly recommend that he get one made for arcade games.
Right, and one of the places we always recommend is Holland Computers, of course, Tim. We've used the Holland Computers 19-inch LCD, and they run about $200 or less, depending on whether they're running a sale. Tim, I do know that Holland Computers is running a sale right now, 10% off for Easter, I believe. So if I don't know what that coupon code is, and I wish that Louis was here because he could get it for us. But if you need that coupon code, I could probably post it here in a little bit, maybe between the regular show and the after show. But Holland is running 10% off right now, so if you are looking to get a commercial grade arcade quality LCD monitor, Gertie, then I can send you a discount code that'll get you 10% off that you can use. So we'll do that between the shows though, so I have a little time to look it up. But I do know they're offering 10% right now. Let's see. He says, I hear you. Thanks so much. I want to keep the parts for nostalgic purposes, but want to put a new monitor in there. I'm wondering if I can use any monitor, or do I need a power supply? You will need a power supply, but if you buy the kits that we recommend, Tim, for the MISPAC upgrades, they pretty much already have the power supply with them. So they have the power supply, they have the converter boards and things. And so if you buy one of the upgrade kits, like the one from Mike's Arcade, who has a MISPAC Man to 16-1 upgrade, if you buy something like that, then it should already have the power supply with it, right, Tim?
Yeah, I literally put that kit in about 20 minutes or less, start to finish.
Yeah, much faster than the old JAMA boards kit that we showed the video on. In fact, we did film it with the Mark's Arcade kit. Hopefully at some point, Tim, we can get around to actually releasing that video. But if you're using the upgrade kit there, Gertie, then it should be fine. It should be fine with the power supply and everything like that. So, okay, Tim, let us move on to our next question. What have I got here? It's from Mr. Casket. You gotta like that? So Mr. Casket says, hey guys, maybe someone can help me out. I have a Terminator 2 arcade cabinet and I have two small issues with it. One is that the marquee light is defective. How do I replace it? Two is that there's a cobweb right above the monitor. Is there any way to get in there and remove it? Thanks. So, Tim, I don't know if you noticed part of our title here for the episode was Fools, for April Fools, Spiders, and this is where the spiders come in, Tim, because he found a cobweb above his Terminator 2 monitor here. So really, he's got a Terminator 2 with two small issues, like he mentions. His marquee light is out. Okay, that's issue number one. And then he needs to get this cobweb out of, like, the right above the monitor area, but as we know, Terminator 2 cabinets are kind of tight in there. So what can he do to get the marquee light working and to remove that cobweb from his Terminator 2?
Well, a lot of it depends on the bulb that's in there. You can sometimes just simply replace the bulb, and that would work. And just like a light bulb at your house goes out, these lights go out. The older ones, a lot of times, have a starter in there, which kind of looks like a battery. Sometimes you just have to replace the starter if it's a fluorescent light. But realistically, I just put I think I bought it off of Amazon. It's a 16-inch long LED light bar, and it has the power cord, so I could easily, it was 120. I have done a 12 or 5 volt. So you need to, when you replace your light, you need to know what kind of voltage is going to that light bulb. Whether it's LED or, just a fluorescent bulb or whatever kind of light it is. The old Miss Pac-Man we've seen sometimes just have two house bulbs kind of in them on the side. But this LED bulb, which I should have gave you a picture, John, it just we did it on the Galaga machine that we sold. We built a new Galaga, and it made it look so awesome. It just looked really great. It was really bright, but not hot. So I would highly recommend that. And this one happened to be 120, which was it was 12 volt, which was easy to really tap into. So the only thing is to pick out what kind of light you want, mount it up in there some way or fashion. And then I think we actually installed a board across the back, and we actually just glued it to that board so it would be facing forward like that. So it's really bright. You also don't want it facing up and not getting the light out. So make sure that your light is going that way. And then we just wired it up, and it was super simple. I think it had two wires going to it. One was ground and one was 12 volts. And we hooked it right up to the JAMA harness, and where the old light was coming up like that. And so that was it. It was super easy, and didn't take maybe 30 minutes tops, and that included, mounting it and everything. So you can't about go wrong, but just make sure you know the voltage, because if you go hook up a LED to a 120 that's meant for 12, you're going to damage it. Or you're going to do the opposite, and it just won't look right, won't be very bright. So you got to know the voltage of the light that you're putting in there. The second part of this question is kind of a fun question, because I could think of probably 3 or 4 different ways that you could do this. One, you could get like some canned air or an air compressor and literally just kind of blow the canned air in there. And But I'm not a big fan, John, of always just blowing stuff because Chuck E. Cheese used to make us do that all the time, blow out games. I'm like, it's going somewhere. I like to vacuum stuff up. So a shop vac would also work pretty good, maybe with a wand that you could get up in there. I'm all about removing and not just blowing it somewhere else. But I think you're going to show it in the slide. Another thing is like a Swiffer Dustbuster works great in games. And we always have one in the shop or around where we're going to do some cleaning. We've also talked about a makeup brush. My daughter's old one I took, and I can take it up in there. It's real soft bristles, so you don't do any damage. Those are just a couple of ideas. John, maybe you can think of something else.
Sounds good, Tim. I think on the marquee light, I mean, you're spot on. And actually, Tim, I don't know if you remember, but we did a video on this in a Donkey Kong cabinet. So I am going to refer him to that. As far as the cobweb goes, you mentioned Swiffer. I'm a big Swiffer fan. Swiffers are awesome. But they have the Duster, the Swiffer Duster Extender, which actually has about a 3-foot handle on it. And so if you can't get in there with that, you just can't get in there. I mean, I think that should have no problems kind of reaching up into those hard-to-reach areas. So, I mean, I would recommend that. But I also think the shop vac is good if you can get in there with the attachment. Or what was the other things that you mentioned, Tim? I forgot.
Just like use a canned air.
Or
air blow it out.
Right, but I'm with you. I don't really like blowing stuff around either. So I think I'd rather use a vacuum before that.
And make sure you kill the spider or you're going to have another cobweb.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the nice thing about Swiffers, Tim, is they trap the dust, which is something I always appreciate about Swiffers, is it traps it so it doesn't go blowing everywhere. But anyway, let's go ahead and throw up the outline here so you guys can see it. So on the marquee light, sounds like your fixture may have gone out. Now, Tim mentioned you could replace the bulb or replace the starter if that's the case. But really, I mean, you can just replace the whole fixture. Now, you could go, again, with the traditional bulb fixture that's probably already in there now, or you could go with the LED light bar like Tim was talking about. And we have a great article on replacing a marquee light with an LED light bar, and there's the link to it. I also have the link down below in the show notes so you can see it. Unfortunately, the one we used in that video is no longer available, Tim, but you found one on Amazon, you said, for pretty cheap. What was it, 16-inch you said?
I think it was $16 for 2 of them. And they have like 24 little lights in there. I mean, it's like really bright. In fact, I'd warn you, if you get that same one, I can look up the Amazon link here. But if you get that same one, don't look at it when you plug it in. It is very bright, but it does look really good once it's in there.
Yeah, and the real key, like Tim mentioned there, is to make sure that your voltage matches whatever the fixture is or whatever the LED bulb is. So, you know, if it's a DC or 12 volt, 5 volt DC LED strip, then make sure you're putting that to it. If it's a 120 volt AC, already has a power, maybe a switcher on it to switch it to DC voltage, then make sure you wire it to that. That's really the key, right, Tim?
Yeah, that is the main thing.
And on the
I'm looking it up too. You can keep talking. I'll give you an Amazon part number here in a second.
Okay, sounds good. On the cobweb, you may be able to get to it if you remove the mirror, Tim, because you got to remember that you know, games like this, a lot of times, Terminator 2 in particular, I believe, has a mirror with an up-firing monitor, like what we see in Lethal Enforcers. And so you may be able to get to it if you just take the mirror out, but I know that's a lot of trouble. So just like me and Tim mentioned, you may try shop vac or maybe the Swiffer Duster Extender if you're having trouble reaching that part of the cabinet. And hopefully between those two, you can get that cobweb out of there. And like Tim mentioned, make sure you kill the spider too. Tim is not fond of spiders, guys, by the way.
No, I do not like spiders. This one, if you do a search, is GE, like General Electric, 16-inch LED premium under the cabinet, is what it's called. And I swear I got a deal on it, but I can't quite remember now. This one is $15.37 with Prime shipping, and it's an Amazon choice for plug-in fluorescence. It's very, very good. Premium under the cabinet light fixture, GE 16-inch.
Now, I've heard that some people have had luck with the ones that they sell at Walmart. And I have not used those, but a lot of people have said that those are really good as well. I think they sell them for like $10 or something like that. It really doesn't matter what you go with. The things that are important is make sure you wire it to the right voltage, and you should be in good shape. Right, Tim?
That's correct.
Sounds good. So, Mr. Casket, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck getting a new marquee light and a cobweb out of your monitor. So, there we go. It looks like we have a couple of updates here in the live chat, Tim. We've got Danny Ransom. He says, I talked to you guys last show about an arcade cabinet. I switched my Pandora's Box 5 to a Pandora's Box 9 and had some buttons not working. I got into it, had a wire pulled out of the JAMA harness, Tim. That'll do it.
Yeah.
For sure. And especially if it's a ground wire, it could cause a lot of buttons to not work, right, Tim?
That's correct, but you can... hopefully he did get it fixed, right?
It says fixed. It works great now.
Awesome. Good to hear.
Oh, yeah. So, and then we have Michael here. He says, talking about Donkey Kong, watched an episode of Pawn Stars today. Guy had a completely original Donkey Kong in absolutely amazing shape. Their expert valued it at $600. They offered $300. The guy obviously said no. So,
wow.
$600 for like a pristine Donkey Kong is actually a really good deal in my opinion, Tim.
Yeah, I would pay $600 for one.
I think the going rate for Donkey Kongs, especially with the popularity of things like the King of Kong, has really skyrocketed. I see them routinely for $800 to $1,200.
Easily.
Yeah. So $600 is actually a really good deal for one that's in pristine shape for sure.
Yeah, poor guy had to roll it all the way in there, though. But he got on TV.
Oh, did you see it? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it. I'm surprised. I love that show.
Well, there you go, Tim. I mean, maybe someday you'll get to be on Pawn Stars. So,
well, one of my life goals, and maybe this summer, is I've never been to Vegas, and I want to go to Vegas. I really don't like to gamble much, but I want to go to the Pawn Stars place where they shoot it. Although I've heard it's kind of a disappointment. It's a lot smaller than you think, and they're never there. But
do you want to go? Are you serious about Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Would you go before May?
May?
Would you go in either April or May?
Maybe in May because, but I don't know with my son's situation, which we may talk about in the live show.
I saw a 4-day, 3-night stay at the Venetian, airfare included for 2 people for like $400.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's crazy, isn't it?
Hey, if you want to go, now's the time.
Yeah, well, maybe I could buy my tickets now. This summer is probably more realistic, though.
Yeah. It just depends. But we can talk about that more in the after show. We're getting off topic here, Tim.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Pawn Stars is interesting, and I know that you've been... Oh, Pinball Museum, YouTube Punk says. So if you go to Las Vegas, you have to make sure you visit the Pinball Museum.
Heck yeah.
That's YouTube Punk. He's bringing us back around on topic. There we go.
Okay.
So anyway, Tim, but yeah, we'll talk more about your son in the after show and some of the updates there. Some other things for the after show, Tim. I got my first dose of the vaccine.
Okay.
I got it on Monday, so I can talk about that. I got the Pfizer, but I'll give you more details if you want to know that. Let's see. Baseball started today. I was watching the Texas Rangers. Today's actually the game is probably almost over, except for the fact that the strike zone was like this big. So like basically the game was going to last forever because I mean nobody could hardly hit the strike zone. So but looking forward to that. But we'll talk about some of that stuff in the after show. So if you guys want to stay tuned immediately after the regular show here, and we'll talk about some off-topic topics at that point. So Tim, back on topic.
All right.
So next we have a question from Dave. So I'll throw it up here. Hi there. Thanks so much for your videos. They have been a great help. I have 2 Cruisin' World games that were shipped from California, Captain's Auctions. Now, Tim, of course, we promote Captain's Auctions on our website. They are a great place to get games from. You do have to pay for shipping and things, but you can get some good deals through there for sure.
All right.
So they landed in the cold of winter, apparently in Canada, Tim. And one was plugged in before it could acclimatize to the indoor temperatures. There was a loud pop, and now the controls and monitor don't work. They were working at the auction. I am assuming that it's a fuse most likely, but I had a question about accessing the monitor. In a lot of videos, the access door opens and the monitor is easily accessible. In this game, however, the monitor is higher up in the cabinet and it's super awkward to get to. I was curious if there's any better way to access it. Thanks again, Dave. And let me make sure. I may have some... He did send some pictures. Let me put those up before we get to it. And Tim, I mean, you've crawled all over these cruising style cabinets because you used to have them at Chuck E. Cheese, correct?
Correct.
And you can see, for those people who aren't familiar with Cruis'n USA, just how tight that space is. Now, Tim, you'll notice that it has a board, a physical wood board that has the PCB mounted on it for the game. And then right above that is where the monitor is. And so it is a very tight space up in there. But what advice can you give to Dave as far as working on the monitor in such a tight area?
Well, yeah, if you guys can look at that, everybody wants to open that back door and access everything. And the truth is, on the Cruis'n, the very best way to do it's from the front. You're going to have to take the bezel out, probably open up the control panel because this glass is probably underneath there. Or you're going to actually remember the control panel would have those hex or like security Torx bit screws in them. So you're going to need like a number 15 or 20 or whatever it was, and take them long bolts out. There's a couple in the middle. Don't forget those kind of in behind the steering wheel. The control panel will fall down, but it's hinged, so it can just lay down. Good time for you to get in there and clean. Tighten your buttons while you're in there, and if there's any button lights out, good time to replace them. Then you can get the glass out. Then you'll have some bolts that are mounting in the monitor. The easiest way is to take them out, discharge the monitor from the back, but take it out through the front. And I usually would, sometimes I've laid a board or something like across where the steering wheel is. You could just kind of slide and leave the monitor on there. That way you can get to where you need to be. If you need to take the chassis off or whatever, you can do it up inside there, but you better really know what you're doing, and most of the time you're kind of blind in there. I highly recommend doing it and pulling it out the front like that. Even if you have to take it all the way out of the game and put it on the table or something, then you can kind of look at the monitor a lot better.
Yeah, Tim, I think the idea that you gave about putting a piece of wood there and then leaning the monitor over it is a really great tip. I had not even thought about that.
Yeah, well, I've worked on a few of them. You got the seat too, so you can kind of, some seats would, you could kind of go back against that seat or something, or down and just kind of lean it over, just to keep it from falling on you. It's heavy, It's a big monitor.
Absolutely. So, and I've got a couple of tips here, Tim, too, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this up. Now, one thing I will say is it is possible to get to the chassis and to get the chassis out, but you better know what you're doing because, like you said, you're kind of blind doing that, correct?
Yeah, it can be done. I mean, obviously, plenty of people that like us that could do it, but if you're not real experienced, I would highly recommend discharging it and pulling the monitor out where you can work on it so that you don't do any damage. But I've done it both ways.
Sounds good. Well, let me go ahead and throw this up here, Tim, and we'll reiterate a couple of things that you said here. Unfortunately, this cabinet does not provide a lot of space to work on the monitor, like you said, Tim. With that said, you should be able to remove the chassis by unscrewing it from the frame, disconnecting it from the board and tube, and sliding it out from the side. You can remove the main board panel from the cabinet if you need additional space, but like Tim mentioned, in doing that, you're kind of flying blind with that, unfortunately. So unless you're really knowledgeable about where all of those connectors are and where all the screws are to get that chassis out, it's going to be very hard for you to do that. But you can pull it out the front, so if you want to remove the monitor, you can disconnect it from the rest of the cabinet, remove the bezel, and take out the bolts holding it in place, and from there the monitor should come out the front side of the cabinet. And like Tim mentioned, you can actually place a board kind of in the front of the monitor, the front bottom part of the monitor, and lean it against the steering wheel and kind of use that as a shelf to prop the monitor up on so you can get to the chassis without having to pull the whole monitor out of the cabinet. Tim, I think those are some really great tips. Anything else for Dave as far as getting this open?
No, I don't think so.
Sounds good. So, Dave, hopefully that answers your question. And good luck getting both these Cruisin' USA games back, or Cruisin' World, actually, Tim, games up and running. Hopefully you can. Captain's Auction, Tim, yes, they probably were working at the auction, but as we know, Tim, when you move a game, sometimes they don't work when you get them where they're supposed to go. So, okay. And especially when you're going from California to Canada. That's quite a trek. So not uncommon for little small issues to happen. Wouldn't be surprised if it is a fuse. But, start at power, Dave, and you should be in good shape. So, okay, Tim, I think we're pretty caught up on the live chat. So I'm just going to continue on here with our next question from Joshua. So let me put that up. I have an old Centipede arcade. I stripped everything out and installed all new components, including an LED monitor. I placed a JAMA 60-in-1 PCB in it as well. When I plugged it in, I can hear the demo music, but my monitor is white. I have unplugged and replugged all of the connections and no change. Any help would be appreciated. So, Tim, we have Joshua here. He's got a old Centipede game that he's done the 60-in-1 upgrade path to. He has put in a new LCD LED monitor, and he has also put a 60-in-1 board in there, but unfortunately, he's not getting anything on the screen. So What do you think is going on? It says his monitor is white. So what do you think is going on with Joshua's cabinet here?
Well, this would be a case of playing blind, so it really is either a bad monitor. I would love to know, did it work beforehand, before he did the conversion, or it's probably hooked up wrong. It could just be something simple as a dip switch on his 60-in-1 board. It could be on VGA if he's not running a VGA, or it could not be on VGA if he's running a VGA. So he's going to need to let us know which monitor he actually put in there. It doesn't say, does it, John?
No, he doesn't say exactly. He just says it's an LED monitor. That's all we know. So we don't know exactly which one.
He's going to need to have it on VGA, or he'll get that. It's probably make sure his VGA hookup is correct. Outside of that, being a dip switch or just something hooked up wrong, the monitor should work.
Well, that he had some sort of issue, and we don't know for sure about the board either, Tim. As you know, 60-in-1 boards are notoriously unreliable. It seems like, and
Right.
the way that they're produced is very cheaply, and so it's very possible that he just has a bad board as well. So I'm gonna always leave that out there as kind of an option for him. But let's go ahead and throw the slide up here, Tim. I really think it may come down to what you were talking about, though, Tim, and the fact that it may be the dip switch. So I went ahead and put the dip switch little indicator up here, and we can talk about that for a second. The fact that you can hear the demo music when the game starts up makes us think that your issue is involving your monitor, something with it. Make sure that you have the display mode dip switch or dip switch 2 on your board set to the correct mode. Tim, it does sound like he's probably using a VGA cable, so more than likely he's going to need to make sure that that dip switch is in the on position. But if for some reason he's using the red, green, blue ground sync to hook up his LCD LED monitor, then he needs to make sure that's in the off position. Tim, as you know, they make LCD and LED monitors that do all modes, basically tri-mode, so they work with CGA and VGA. And so if he's hooking it up with a CGA, he needs to make sure that the mode is in CGA. If he's hooking up with a VGA cable, he needs to make sure it's in VGA mode. So that's very important. And like I mentioned, Tim, sometimes even new parts can be faulty. You might try contacting your monitor and board supplier if the issue persists. Tim, if it is an LCD monitor, he should be able to hook a computer up to it and try it that way. Or if he's got another device that has a VGA output on it, then he could hook that up to the monitor to see if it displays properly. So that would tell him if it's a board or a monitor issue. So that may be worth doing. But Tim, not at all uncommon to get a monitor and or board, 16-in-1 board that's faulty, correct?
Correct.
It happens all the time.
Right.
So
That's usually something simple. Hopefully it won't be too big a deal.
absolutely. Very first thing to do, Joshua, though, is to make sure you check that dip switch for sure. So make sure you check the dip switch and then kind of go from there. And then if it's still not working after we switch the dip switches, then maybe we need to start looking at the monitor. Try plugging up something that has a VGA output on it to see if you can get the picture on it. And if the picture never comes, then...
Correct.
So there we go. So Joshua, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting your Centipede 60-in-1 LCD LED monitor combination up and running. Okay, YouTube Punk has some he has some hard things for Joshua. He says, Joshua is banned. Go directly to jail, Joshua. You do not collect $200. I think he's being hard on him here, Tim, for converting his Centipede to a multicade. Hey, it's your cabinet, man. You can do what you want to do with it. There's no harm from our end, so... Okay, Tim, we're going to continue on here with Gary's question, so let us go on here with Gary. And Gary says, what would cause the missing picture on the top of the screen? Thanks, Gary. So, Tim, we have Gary here, and you can see a little tearing there in the picture. Now, Tim, this is something we've covered a lot in some of the previous live show episodes. But why don't you just give us a little refresher course here whenever we're missing like a big chunk of the picture like that? Really, what's going on with our monitor?
Usually it's a cap kit. A bad capacitor that's failed and leaking and not doing its job, and that's usually what it is. So I would highly recommend that you start off with a cap kit. Now, outside of that, I mean, it could be just about anything. It could be a bad flyback. It could be a board issue or something that's causing it. But those are really pretty rare. Most of the time, what we're looking at is capacitor starting to fail.
Yeah.
And so it would be what we'd recommend.
I was about to say, we've seen this a lot with bad caps actually causing like these kind of splotches splotch, I guess what we call it, like holes in the picture, if you will. But I mean, it could, like Tim mentioned, it could technically be anything. It could be a bad horizontal width coil. It could be a bad flyback. It could be a bad horizontal output transistor. It could be, there's a lot of different things that it could be. Not so much the vertical and horizontal sections, though. I will say that, because typically we would have something that's a little bit different in those sections, but probably usually something more to do with like the power section of the chassis. And we've seen CapKit solve this a lot of times, Tim, and so that's why I think CapKit is the go-to here to try first. But if he continues to have problems, he needs to look more towards the power supply section of the chassis and see if he can get it working. So let me throw that up here just to kind of reiterate. Dark spot issues like this can be caused by a variety of things, including bad caps, bad flyback, neck board issues, bad tube, etc. And Tim, we didn't even mention that before. Bad tube too, right?
Correct.
So I mean, you can have a lot of different issues here, but as we mentioned, let's start off with a cap kit and see if that solves your issue. While you have the chassis out, touch up cold solder on other components, particularly those on the neck board, Tim. It does seem like the neck board components seem to be suspect whenever we have this kind of dark spot hole issue in the picture. Now, if the problem continues after the cap kit and the touching up of the solder, let's replace the flyback and maybe the hot as well. If the problem persists, it's very possible that you have a bad tube. And that happens. It's, you know, again, I think, Tim, we've talked about this a lot. It's rare that bad tubes happen, but they happen. And so in that particular case, you may have to replace the whole monitor if you can't find a compatible tube with your chassis. Tim, did we pretty much get all that?
I think so. I'm making myself a note here, John. You can see the light is really affecting me. I'm getting blinded over here. It'll go down pretty soon, but I just wrote a note. I need to buy a curtain for my shop.
Yeah, so I guess you have some windows on that side, and there's no curtains up there?
I kind of shifted all my stuff around and cleaned up a lot. You'd have to see.
So, Tim, here's the deal. I see. Oh, we're moving. Oh, yeah, it looks nice.
Pretty clear.
Yeah, let's see the window side.
I'll see it. It's really bright.
I see a Star Wars poster. Oh, look at that. So, I see a Star Wars poster back there.
Yeah.
Need a couple more decorations in there for sure. Need to get you some posters. We get you some stuff in there.
There's some up there.
Oh, I see some Pac-Man. Okay. I missed that the first time around. There we go. Oh, hey, Tim, before we move on, that reminds me of something I picked up. And you probably saw we posted these. They were having a sale on them, but I got one of these.
Oh, nice.
So this is the Arcade 1-Up Counter Arcade. So I've been playing around with it. It's kind of cool. So, but they were $50 at Walmart for a limited time there while they had stock, and I bought a couple just to kind of play with. So I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Maybe I'll try to mod one or something like that. But I mean, for that price, I couldn't pass it up, and it's good to have something to play with for if nothing else. So
yeah.
So anyway, so just talking about kind of arcade related stuff. Tim, it does seem like we have a couple of questions here in the live chat real quick. Danny Ransom, can you use a regular coin mechanism for tokens if you adjust them?
Well, most coin mechanisms have a cradle that is designed for a certain coin weight. That way you couldn't cheat it back in the day, because you might work in an arcade, get a bunch of tokens, and go to a quarter mech and play it. If it came from like Chuck E. Cheese, it has a D on it. That stands for a double mech, and that can be adjusted to take either a quarter or a token. We have a video on adjusting a coin mech that you should watch, because we talk about how to do that. And it kind of just depends on the mech that you have. Is it available, if it is or not. Some operators dial theirs in really tight, and then others were really, Chuck E. Cheese was very loose. It would take a quarter or a token.
And Tim, we've mentioned before, we really like the Imanex mechs, and the Imanex mechs do both as well, correct?
Yeah.
And they can be adjusted to take either or, but they take both.
Yeah, they do either or.
Right. Let's see what else we have here. AMV, a Yane fan, says, I picked up an old Asteroids arcade from the junkyard. I only have half a PC board left in the box. Everything else is gone. Where do I start?
Well, you know, always start at power. You got to make sure that your power supply and everything is good. You're going to have
he says April Fool's on that, Tim.
Huh?
He said April Fool's on that.
Oh, okay.
But let's take it realistically though. I mean, if you only had half a board, you'd probably need to get an Asteroids board first, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Check your power though. You don't want to hook that thing up if it's got bad power, right?
Yeah, I found a lunar lander like that one time.
Yeah, it happens. You find
A bunch of.
I was about to say, you find stuff like that all the time where a board's like cracked in half or you got other issues. We've seen people knit back together chassis and neck boards, not so much like game PCBs, but we have seen people like take cracked neck boards and stitch them back together, crack chassis and stitch them back together. I guess you could do that, but it may be easier it would be easier to find another board probably.
Probably, if you can find one.
Let's see what else we have here. I think we're good. YouTube Punk says he has an old pinball playfield hanging up as wall art. And we've seen that a lot, Tim. That's kind of a trendy thing to do. I don't know if you're familiar with the TV show How I Met Your Mother, but in their apartment they actually had a pinball playfield that they were using kind of as artwork, like hanging wall art, if you will. So I mean, it happens. People like to do that. What now?
I don't remember that. I watched that show a lot. I'll have to look for it next time.
It's in there. You need to watch it. So there you go. I've seen every episode probably twice at this point. So, anyway, it's a thing to do and it's cool. Because a lot of pinball machines, Tim, especially when we find them, maybe past the point of repair. Correct.
Right.
So at least hopefully the parts get used for something productive. So. Okay, Tim, I think we're caught up, so let us continue on here with our next question from Brian. He says, "Hi, guys. Love your podcast. I'm more of a listener than a tinkerer. I want to purchase a Sega 18-wheeler, the non-deluxe version. Is it a good idea?
Okay.
Is it a good idea or no? I don't know much about driving games. I've played around with regular arcade games, but nothing with moving parts. Stay away or no? Thank you." So, Tim, this is really Brian kind of dipping his feet into a new pool of arcade games. He said, I'm somewhat comfortable with regular arcade games, but now we're getting into driving games, which have a little bit more mechanical parts, and really looking at this 18-wheeler. Should I pick it up? Should I not? What do you think, Tim?
Well, my first response was, remember that it is a 4-letter word, SEGA. If it's working fine and everything, and the price is right, why not? But Sega parts are very expensive, so if you do in the future have problems with it, expect that some of the parts could be a little outrageous. Having said that, a lot of the parts are interchangeable with their other games, and they have a lot of driving games. I would not hesitate if the price was right.
YouTube Punk says, do it, Brian, here in the live chat. Just to give you an idea. Tim, I think he really needs to get himself familiar with the manual if he wants to know what kind of work he's in for, because that'll tell him, that shows you all the parts that you need and things like that. So I do have a link to the manual here. It should also be down in the show notes. But Tim, I don't know if you remember this, but our friend Stan actually has an 18-wheeler. So I reached out to Stan and I was...
Deluxe version.
Yes, he has the deluxe version. So I reached out to Stan and I asked him, hey Stan, how's your 18-wheeler? And he says it's been a solid performer for him. The only issues have been, he had a monitor issue where the monitor, I don't know if it went out or if he just had to repair something. And then he had a horn contact issue. But other than that, he says it's been very solid. So the good news, Brian, is that if you get it working, more than likely it will be a solid performer for you as well. But like Tim mentioned, it is Sega, which means that it's got a lot of wiring and a lot of expensive parts. So, right, Tim?
That's correct.
So let me go ahead and put the slide up, but it basically summarizes what we've already said. I highly recommend that you check out the manual and familiarize yourself with the different areas of the cabinet, especially the control mechanisms and the wiring diagrams, Tim. Those are the two that you definitely want to check out, and there's a link there for you, Brian, to check out. As I mentioned, Stan has one. It's been a solid performer for him, only monitor and horn issues for the most part. And then in Tim's experience, again, Sega games tend to be complex wiring-wise and expensive because the parts are expensive. And Tim, one of the things you texted me when we were talking about it was that he needs to watch out for plastic gear stripping, right?
Yeah, a lot of them are just plastic. I haven't worked on that specific game, although I remember working on Stan's. I just know a lot of Segas use these plastic gears, and over time, or pulleys, I guess you would call them, that slip, and belts that, any driving game is like that though, really. But Sega uses the plastic gears that we used to have to replace a lot.
Absolutely. And again, Tim, it just goes to what you said about expensive parts or having to replace a lot of parts and things like that. I mean, it's just something to be aware of. But if you can get it working, then more than likely you're going to be in good shape for the future, hopefully there, Brian. So, Tim, anything else before we move on here for Brian?
No, I think we're good.
So what would you recommend? Pick it up or not?
It just depends on the price. If the price is, I would say, under $500, heck yeah. We're talking $1,500, probably not. Just up to him.
So under $500, Insta-buy?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me. If it's working for sure, right?
Right.
What if it's not working?
About $100.
About $100, exactly. So I'm with you there. I think $500 is a fair price for a working one. But yeah, it just depends, Brian, on what your budget is and what you want to how much you want to spend on one. But I think from Stan and Tim, and I'm going to throw myself in there too, we say go for it. So if you find a good deal on one, no reason to pass on it. All of it's very very replaceable. It may be a little expensive, but you can get it working, and once you do, you will have a lot of fun with it. So. And there we go. So, Brian, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck if you do decide to pick up that 18-wheeler. Let's see what else we have. Danny Ransom says, yeah, I live in Indiana, was 74 degrees 3 days ago. Now it's 20 degrees. Now, April Fool's for Mother Nature, Tim. There you go.
Yeah.
Our temperatures have been pretty up and down here, too. Like, it's been 80 and then, like, 50 and then, like, 70 and 40, right?
Well, we like to say that in Texas we have all 4 seasons, usually in the same day. You get up, it's winter, and gradually it goes into fall about mid-morning. Then you have spring, and by the afternoon it's summer.
Well, but summer around here, Tim, is like hot as hell, I believe is the term that we usually use. Summer is not a good term for our summer around here. So it is very hot. So, anyway, let's see what else we have here. Heard Sega games have a lot of ROM issues, Tim. Have you heard anything about that? Have you had any issues with ROMs on Sega games?
I would say more Williams games with problems than Sega games.
Well, and another thing is that 18-wheeler, I think, is Naomi-based. So, I mean, you wouldn't have to worry as much about that in particular because it's newer, it's Naomi. I mean, you could have chips go bad on the individual carts that load onto it, but more than likely, those are going to be pretty reliable for the most part. But yeah, with some, Tim, I think about Sega Suicide, where we have some of that. Like, I've got Moonwalker boards, Tim, that's Suicide. Stuff like that. I mean, there have been some issues. I don't know so much about ROMs. It does seem like just kind of listening to some of the board repair guys is sometimes those ROMs do go bad, but I don't know if it's any more than any other board.
Probably not. So not in the older ones. I mean, the newer ones anyway.
Michael Bloom says my Genesis still works fine. There you go. So that's all ROMs anyway, right? The cartridges are so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tim, it's time to get rapid fire with some questions from YouTube. As everybody knows, this is at the time of the show where we give Tim about 3 questions, and he rapid fire answers them for us before we go into the discussion portion of the show. So, Tim, let us get on with these questions, shall we?
Let's go.
Okay, first one's from Mark. I need to know how to get free play on a Crazy Bugs machine. So, Tim, we've got Crazy Bugs. We need to know how we get free play on that. That's from Mark. Kyle wants to know his horizontal width coil is stuck. He can't get it to turn either way. He even bought the adjustment tool, but still nothing. What can he do to get his width coil unstuck? That's Kyle. And they have one each chamber, I guess is how you say that, or one each chamber. Says, what is the best way to take a color monitor and turn it into a black and white to use in an old Space Invaders cocktail game? So that was one each chamber. Ambers. So we've got Mark and Kyle and one each Ambers, and we've got Crazy Bug Machine free play, horizontal with coil stock, and we've got color monitor using in an old Space Invaders cocktail cabinet. So Tim, let's take these one at a time, rapid fire. So how do I get free play on my Crazy Bugs machine?
Well, I'm not familiar with Crazy Bugs. Are you, John?
I wasn't until we did a little bit of research on it. It does look like an 8-liners game, Tim.
Okay. So it doesn't really look like it has a free play, right? Like a dip switch or anything.
Not that we could find for sure.
So one of the ways that we do that is we hook up a button or drill a hole and put a button in or a little switch or something and wire the coin wires to it so that every time you hit that button, it gives you a credit. That's one simple way to do it.
Exactly. And Tim, I think I did find, I don't know if Crazy Bugs 2 is like Crazy Bugs as far as the wiring is concerned, but Crazy Bugs 2 did have a pin that it was using. So if that's the case, you should just be able to connect that and a ground wire to a switch and then get it to coin up, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what about our next one there with the horizontal width coil? That was from Kyle.
Right. Well, you could try to really run the chassis for a while to get it good and warm. Other than that, make sure that you power it off. You could spray a little WD-40 or soap and water. But be sure and let it dry when you're done, and try to loosen that up a little bit. Otherwise, probably just going to have to replace it.
Yeah, and that's pretty common. Now, 1E Chambers here, Tim, using a color monitor in an old Space Invaders cocktail.
That's an interesting question because he kind of wants to do the opposite. And so just attach the output red, green, and blue. And I believe you got a link. Have you put it up there yet, John?
No, I haven't. We've got it here, though.
Like that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you got to think about black and white like it's just, it only has one output instead of the individual outputs for red, green, and blue, right? So if you take the one output and hook it up to the red and to the green and to the blue, it should work. Right. I mean, just in all theory, it should. But there, Tim, I know you're familiar with Brent Radio, that website. Yeah. He does have a post on there that actually talks about the process and how it works, and I do have a link to that.
I've never actually done that. I think it's kind of cool. I would love to hear back from him how it worked out. You know.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know in theory how to do it, but I've never done it, to be honest.
There we go. So, Tim, let me go ahead and go down our little outline here so we can kind of summarize everything for everybody. Mark, if the pinouts are similar to Crazy Bugs 2, you should be able to wire up a button to trigger the coin mechanism like we discussed in our post on adding credits to an arcade game and setting up free play. Like Tim mentioned, you can just wire up a button, and every time you push that button, it's basically the exact same thing as inserting a coin, right, Tim?
Right.
And so once you do that, that's basically as close as you're going to get to free play, but it should allow everybody to play your game without having to pay. Now, Kyle, like Tim mentioned, you want to run your chassis for a while and see if it loosens the width coil a little bit when it's hot. That heat coming off the chassis will sometimes do that. You can also try removing it and trying to adjust it outside of the chassis, Tim. I've seen this before. And not just try to adjust the top, but try to also adjust the bottom while you have it out. Because sometimes you're able to adjust it from the bottom, but not the top. And Tim, you've mentioned this before. You didn't mention it this time, but silicone. We've talked about a lot. And then you did mention WD-40, but I think with the WD-40, like you talked about, you really want to rinse it with soap and water afterwards and let it dry, correct?
Yes. You don't want to just leave it on there and turn it on.
Right. But if none of that works, you're probably going to have to replace it. I mean, it is what it is. And then 1E Chambers, as we mentioned, so if you attach the output from the Space Invaders board to the red, the green, and the blue on the monitor chassis, then that should work. But we do have a link there to a Brent Radio post that kind of talks about that whole process and how to wire that into the Space Invaders board. So we definitely want you to check out that link, and we have it down below in the show notes as well. Tim, anything on any of the rest of these questions before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
Sounds good. Well, we got all that done, Tim, and so I think we're ready to move on as well. So we wish the best of luck to Mark, Kyle, and 1E Chambers with y'all's projects. Please keep us updated and let us know how it goes with those individual projects. So, and Tim, the Crazy Bugs, that's where the Crazy Bugs for our title came from. You saw the Crazy Bugs game in there, the 8-liners game. So we have Full Spiders and Crazy Bugs. That's right, Full Spiders and Crazy Bugs, Tim. We got it all today. So there we go. Now, Tim, I hijacked your tech tip. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But it's April Fool's Day.
Right.
And we don't ever broadcast on April Fool's Day. Who knows when we're going to broadcast on April Fool's Day again. So I did want to talk about our April Fool's joke, Tim. And we did post it up today. It is the new as-is, whereas mini arcade toy line aims to replicate the used arcade buying experience. And you guys can check out the link there if you want to see our April Fool's joke. But Tim, here's some of the text from that article if you guys don't want to go read it. Ever wanted to experience the thrill of buying a used full-size arcade game from an arcade auction, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, etc., and bringing it home without the hassles of moving it with a dolly? Well, now you can! The new as-is, whereas mini arcade toy line aims to give you the same feel of buying a used arcade game from a random auction or for sale website without all the backaches, Tim. Each cabinet in the toy line features some sort of issue. Every issue is randomized, so there's no telling what fun is in store for you. Just think about all the enjoyment you'll have trying to fix them. And Tim, that was our April Fool's joke. And I have a picture there, Tim, of a Rampage cabinet, a mini arcade Rampage cabinet that's missing a control panel. So
Right.
that's always fun. But just to give everybody an idea, we just wanted to have some fun with it. And so I kind of posted that up. And hopefully you guys read it and get a kick out of it. I thought it was fun. You and Mark approved it, Tim. So you guys thought it was good enough at least to use for the April Fool's joke. But, I wanted to do one. We kind of skipped last year because of everything that was going on. And we wanted to do something this year just to make people laugh, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Get back in the groove.
Oh, what now?
Get back in the groove. We missed it last year. We have kind of been known for a good April Fool's joke or two.
Absolutely. So there we go. So if you guys want to check that out, there's a link down below in the show notes, and you can also see it here on the screen. But I hijacked your tech tip for that, Tim. Sorry. So next month you can come back with a tech tip, and we'll do it then. We just had a lot of news and things going on this month. So instead of doing the tech tip, I figured we'd throw that in there instead. So. Okay, Tim, we do have a question from Danny here. He says, I can buy a Beachheads arcade from my arcade guy. He wants to sell it to me for $300, completely working, but missing the platform, though it is worth it. I guess, is it worth it? So, Tim, you've seen Beachhead before.
I have one. We have one.
Yeah, you guys had one. Now, I don't think he's talking about the bubble one. He's talking about it sounds like the pull-down helmet, but he doesn't have the platform for it.
Yeah, we had the helmet one at Chuck E. Cheese for years. And, if for $300, yeah, you get a lot of play out of it probably. But the wires you're turning, and the wires going up in there, you got to keep that thing tight, because if you don't, the wires will just spin around and all rip up.
Absolutely.
And it was a constant battle keeping that thing going. But at $300, it's kind of fun to play with. I think you probably would like it.
Yeah, I think $300 is a good price there, Danny. And if it's working, that's even better. The platform missing is not a big issue, right, Tim? Because I don't think the platform does anything, does it?
Have it. Yeah, we took the platform off of ours, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing it does is it keeps people from kind of interrupting you while you're playing the game, right? It has like the two rails on the side. That's about it.
And occasionally, without the platform, you got to watch how you move. You can it gives a little weight on the top with the game. It could tilt on you.
Oh, gotcha. That makes sense. So make sure you back weight it as well. Maybe put some weights on the inside of the cabinet.
Uh-huh.
Sounds good. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even think about that. So smart. Very smart. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of places do take off the platform because it does take up more space, Tim. That's probably why. But we actually had one that I bought in an auction. Remember that? And I think you ended up selling it on eBay, correct?
Yeah.
It didn't have the computer in it, though. I remember that.
It was huge.
Yeah, it's gigantic. We got it for, like, little or nothing, though, at an arcade auction. I can't remember how much we paid for it.
Maybe $50 at the most.
Yeah, it wasn't very much, but it didn't have the computer. So, I mean, the LCD screens and the helmet still worked, but, I mean, without the computer, it's pretty much not a game. But we didn't get much for it, and you ended up selling it, and I think the guy you sold it to had the trackball version, right? And he was going to upgrade it, if I remember correctly.
Pedro bought it.
That's right.
And we ended up being pretty good friends. So
there you go. So, but it's a good game. I mean, it's fun. It makes me dizzy, trying to spin around and shoot everything. But kids like it. So, let's see, Tim. Let us go on to some more news while we're here. This next one, Tim. I don't know if you saw this, but there's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles retro beat 'em up coming out, Tim, and it plays just like the old Konami arcade games, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Turtles in Time. But it has been announced for PC and consoles. It's called Shredder's Revenge. It's going to be a 4-player co-op beat 'em up in the classic Konami style. Leonardo, Raphael, Michelangelo, and Donatello will take on classic enemies like the Foot Clan, Bebop, Rocksteady in their new side-scrolling adventure. So looking forward to that, Tim. Maybe we can play it on our main cabinets or something like that. So.
Yeah, maybe.
And it'd be cool if Arcade 1-Up would come up with units that play like these newer style games too. That maybe aren't arcade games, but maybe give them a home makeover, if you will, a home arcade makeover, so that people can play them as they were maybe intended to be played. Correct?
Cool. Correct.
So cool stuff. I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Tim. I have fond memories of playing it in the arcade, so I always look forward to these games, and hopefully I'll get a chance to play it once it comes out. Tim, the other news that we have here is the 2020 TWIPY Pinball Awards happened, Tim. They were broadcast on March 27, 2021. And the big winners from the show, Tim, the big winner was Jersey Jack Pinball's Guns N' Roses, which won Best Theme Integration and Best Game of the Year, which is
Wow.
big time, I mean, for them. So congratulations to Jersey Jack for that. Stern Pinball's Avengers Infinity Quest won Best Playfield Gameplay, won Best Playfield Gameplay / Layout, and Best Rules. So you can watch the entire replay of the TWIPYs on their YouTube channel, and I have a link to the YouTube here, Tim. But I think this is the first time Jersey Jack has won this. And Tim, we were talking to Mark, who got our Facebook moderator, Mark, who got to play all of these games, and he definitely said that Guns N' Roses stands out in a big way.
Right. That's one I would love to have.
And Tim, I know you're a big fan of the Data East Guns N' Roses pinball machine.
Uh-huh.
I'm hoping that I'm planning to go to the Houston Arcade Expo. I'm hoping that maybe I'll get to play some of these newer games that I haven't got to play since the pandemic went on. Once the Houston show comes around, are you going to try to go with me?
I hope so, yeah.
Sounds good. By then I'll be fully vaccinated. And Tim, speaking of fully vaccinated, once I'm there and 2 weeks after that, you and me are going to be in the same room again. So,
Okay, awesome.
so we only have like 6 more weeks. So that means one more live show and maybe the May live show we'll do like this, and then maybe in June we can get back to normal. So let's see what else we have here, Tim. Have you seen this Pong wall art, Tim, that this guy put together?
Yeah.
And the title of the article was, "I want to decorate my entire home with classic arcade games turned into playable works of art." And so Jürgen Muller has turned a classic Pong cabinet into a framed work of art on the wall that's still playable. Instead of perfectly recreating the cabinet of a 1972 Pong arcade cabinet, Muller created a 2-inch thick frame that contains the original Pong mainboard behind a sheet of protected plexiglass and a recreation of its screen and controls. And Tim, this is a great idea. I mean, what a great idea. Basically making a thin wall-mountable arcade cabinet that you can actually play and show off the cool electronics inside, right?
Yeah, that was really cool.
It really is. And so I don't know if a lot of arcade games could get this treatment, Tim, because as you know, like a lot of newer style arcade games require more controls than this. But I mean, I think it'd be possible to do this with maybe like Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man style boards, or even any of the classic type arcade games, to where you have the board down below and then are able to play the game up above. And by doing that, you really show off the electronics of the time, and it also makes a nice conversation piece in your house, correct?
Agreed.
Because that's the one part of an arcade game that very rarely people ever see is the board, correct?
That's correct.
I mean, unless you're like us and you work on them all the time, you may not have even ever seen one. And so by putting it on display like this, it kind of makes people curious. It's a nice conversation piece. I really think it came out good, and so I look forward to see what else he can come up with in this form factor for sure. And YouTube Punk says it's a minimalist arcade cabinet. So there you go. Okay, Tim. Now this was some of the big news that came out, and it looks like Tim has changed his background.
I thought I had the one with the board inside. I was going to go in and look at it.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Well, we'll get back to you here in a second, Tim. But let's cover this last story here. 24-year-old, never-before-seen Hyper Neo Geo 64 game prototype found under a collapsed tree in a California field. Ooh, that's a mouthful. But this was reported by Eurogamer. But a never-before-seen Hyper Neo Geo 64 Samurai Showdown 64 prototype was found sitting under a tree in a Californian field. It had been sitting there for 20 years, retro video game collectors believe. This prototype was found by pinball machine repair specialist Craig Weiss. Weiss visited a woman whose husband had owned a pinball and arcade machine repair and vendor company. It was in her field and that he saw 6 pallets of unknown origin sitting under a collapsed tree. It turns out her husband had bought auction lots from an ex-SNK employee in China. And literally this lady had this stuff out in her field with a tree just falling over it.
That's just crazy.
So I don't want to know what else is in this 6 pallets of stuff. There's got to be a ton of cool stuff in there. But this is definitely the biggest find. And they know it's a prototype because it plays differently than the final version. In the article, they interviewed the guy on YouTube who kind of did the breakdown of the differences between the prototype and the regular. But it's just amazing. I mean, who would have thought that you'd find this just in some field out in the middle of California somewhere?
That is bizarre.
Yeah, so... and who knows what other parts were sitting there, but if you bought on an old SNK or he went to an SNK employee auction, he probably found some other gems. So hopefully we'll find some of those unearthed pretty soon. But, just really cool, kind of a piece of arcade history that who knows how many of these boards were created. And hopefully we'll find some more stuff from this find, going forward. So Yeah, somebody says dump the ROM. That's Michael. Yeah, hopefully they do dump the ROM so you can play the prototype version as well as the final version. Of course, MAME has a lot of ROMs, Tim, that are prototypes before finals too. So, I mean, you know, it wouldn't be uncommon for them to do that for sure. But it just matters if the person, if Craig, or he sent it to the guy on YouTube, if he's able to get with people who want to do the ROM dump so they can get it taken care of. So, okay, Tim, I think we're done with the show. So I think we've got everything covered at this point. I know we've had a couple of little technical hiccups here and there, but it sounds like we finally got through it. So hopefully you guys were able to enjoy most of the show without too much trouble. But we do want to remind everybody that you know, you're always welcome to send us your arcade-related videos. If you want some free advertising for your YouTube channel, we're always looking for people to submit short videos of 10 minutes or less about arcade-related topics. Send a link of your video to questions@arcaderepairtips.com and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure to put a plug in for your channel so people will know where to find you. We always look forward to seeing your submissions, so we do want to make sure that, you know, if you guys are sending them over, that we can do that. Now, Tim, I do want to mention that just like I wrote an article for this month, the Chama article, if you guys would rather contribute that way, you're more than welcome to do that. Tim, I think of Ingvar Carlson, who sent us the setup and adjustment of arcade monitors PDF that he created. And Tim, we just updated that. He went from version 1.2 to version 1.4, so there's a new version of that document on our website. But Ingvar was nice enough to contribute that document to our website. We put it up there. And if you ever just want to write about something and want us to put up on your website, we'll do that. We'll put a little biography of you. If you have a YouTube channel, I can put a link down there at the bottom of the article to let people know where to find you. But if you're ever interested in contributing content of any kind to Arcade Repair Tips, please contact us at questions@arcaderepairtips.com so we can review it and maybe you know, put it on our website. And of course, give you credit, Tim. We would never take credit for what somebody else did. But if your content is arcade related, we want it on our site. That's what it comes down to, right, Tim?
Right. It might really help somebody.
Exactly. I mean, Tim, it's not the Tim and Jonathan show on the website or in the videos or anything like that. I mean, the whole idea is to document arcade repair. And so if you have a topic you want to write about involving arcade repair, if you've shot a video about arcades or arcade repair and want to share that with us so we can share it with everybody else, just send it over to questions@arcaderepairtips.com so we can do that. And then, Tim, we also have our contact information. Let me throw this up here real quick for everybody watching. We have our general email at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Make sure you put live show in the subject to get it mentioned on the show. Again, our general email, and the best way to get in contact with us is at questions@arcaderepairtips.com. And Tim, we have our YouTube page at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. If you're watching this, of course, you know where that is, but maybe you're listening to this on the podcast. If you are and you'd like to hear the after show, which is not on the podcast feed, make sure you check out youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. Comments from the last live show will be covered in the next episode. Tim, 2 of the questions from tonight were comments that were left on the previous episode. Okay, just to give you an idea. So if you leave comments on the last live show, we'll try to cover them in the next episode just like we did tonight. And again, check it out, youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, we have our podcast email, podcast@arcaderepairtips.com. That still goes to Eric and Rusty, who are the hosts of the Question and Answer podcast. I'm still hoping they're going to crank out a new episode for us at some point, but they have been very busy trying to get the game preserved back up and running after several months of having issues with the pandemic and everything. So we totally understand their plight, but if you do want to send an email to them and encourage them to put out a new episode, make sure you send it to podcast@arcaderepairtips.com. And Tim, the podcast feed just doesn't have the Question and Answer podcast anymore. Now it also has the live show audio. It also has the interviews podcast. So if you want to subscribe to our podcast feed, make sure you go to itunes.arcaderepairtips.com for the iTunes page, or stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com for the Stitcher page. We're on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on every place that they aggregate podcasts. Just do a search for Arcade Repair Tips. You'll probably find us. But if you subscribe, you'll get all the great content from the live show, the Question and Answer podcast, and the interviews podcast, Tim. Great stuff. So please subscribe at at whatever your favorite podcast aggregator is, so you don't miss out on our content. Of course, if you want to rate us, though, Tim, iTunes is the best place. iTunes.arcaderepairtips.com to rate us. And then, Tim, we have our social media pages. We have our Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com and our Twitter feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. Of course, Tim, we've talked about this before, but everything from Facebook gets cross-posted to Twitter. And we want to thank Mark for all of his work on posting things on the Facebook page, especially with all the pinball news, Tim, especially the news coming out of the TWIPYs and some other things like that. Thank you, Mark, for all of your help with that. And Tim, we missed Louis Something Bad. As you know, he was one of our Facebook moderators, posted a lot of great stuff for us. But now it's just you, me, and Mark. So, we're trying our best, guys, to keep up with all the news. And if you want to check out that news, check it out, facebook.arcaderepairtips.com or twitter.arcaderepairtips.com, just depending on what platform you want. And Tim, I think at this point we are done, except for the after show. Tim, you have anything to talk to us about with the after show coming up?
Well, I'll talk about my son's plight as a Marine. We'll talk about some shows that we've recently both watched. And who knows what else we might get into. There's been some changes in Texas. And
I think I had more content on here. Is that weird?
Seems like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the time and I'm like, wait a second, this show was faster than usual. How in the world can it be faster? But we had more stuff on it. I don't know. Maybe we just zoomed through it faster. I don't know if it was not as much live chat activity or what the deal was, Tim. But it does seem like we're getting it done a little bit faster than usual, guys. So, but you can hang around for the after show, Tim. That's the whole reason to hang around for the after show, right?
For sure.
You don't have anywhere to go. You don't have anything to do. Hang out with us in the after show. We'll be talking about the things that Tim mentioned. Plus, we'll be talking about some sports talk. Tim, MLB started today. We talked about that earlier. We'll talk about that a little bit. And some of the things we've been watching, Tim. And I've been watching a lot of stuff. And I have one thing that I feel like everybody needs to watch on HBO Max because it was a topic that I had no knowledge of going into this documentary. And now I am so curious to see how it ends. And I'll just say it has to do with QAnon.
Oh, okay. I saw this.
Yeah, so, and I knew nothing about this going into it, but this documentary is very interesting. We'll talk about that documentary in the after show. Tim, do you have anything else before we move on?
No, I'm ready to go use the restroom.
Sounds good, guys. Well, if you want to, if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, you're going to be getting off here. If you're ready to move on, then we want to thank you guys for joining us for the live show this evening. After show coming up, if you're watching this live, of course, or if you're watching this on YouTube, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But other than that, Tim, we will see you again next month for episode 51. Tim, we have 50 episodes in the can as of today. Wow. And Tim, that's going to be May, but I think we've got 5 weeks in between this one and the next one, so we have a little bit longer time than usual, guys. That extra week we'll definitely miss hanging out with all you guys. But make sure you check out our podcast feed, our website. If you're missing some of our content, we'll be posting other stuff there as well. But I think we're going to go ahead and sign off here, Tim. Tim, anything else? Last words?
Oh, we'll see you guys next time. Thank y'all for joining us.
Yes, thanks for being here, guys, for the after show. And remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when you fix the game,
you play the game.
Take care, everybody. We hope to see you next month, or we'll see you in the after show. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
Okay, I think we're back. Tim, say something.
Testing. Hello. Back to the live show.
Yeah, I think we're in the after show now. So Tim, I mentioned during the show that I got my first vaccine.
Yeah.
So I got the Pfizer, and it was very easy. It was drive-through. I didn't even have to open my door. Didn't even have to get out of my car.
Right.
So I literally went through the drive-through, rolled down my window, pulled up my sleeve like this, and she shot me. So
no major side effects on this yet.
no,
right?
I mean no side effects except for my arm hurting for maybe a day or so, but otherwise completely normal.
Okay.
So yeah, YouTube Punk says Jonathan got the jab. I did. So and that Monday was actually the first day that they opened it up for everybody, Tim, here in Texas. And so I went first day, 8 o'clock in the morning, got it first thing because my wife is a nurse. She already has had both doses. My sister-in-law is a nurse. She's had both doses. My mother-in-law, like my parents had already had it. Like pretty much everybody I knew and most of the people in my immediate circle had already at least gotten their first dose. So I figured, I should probably do that as well. So, and they've all been fine. So, as far as I know, no adverse side effects for anybody. So, I'm just ready to get back to normal. YouTube Punk asks, does Jonathan get 5G now? Absolutely. It's awesome. Now I glow in the dark, and I don't have to worry about carrying my cell phone around with me. I get reception all the time. It's awesome. So, while we were gone, Tim, Danny posted, congrats on 50 episodes. I've been with you guys, and you have helped me out a lot by answering my questions. Thank you guys very much for the help. Well, Danny, we just appreciate you being here, and we're so glad that we could help you out, man. That's what it's all about here.
Yeah, I was just mentioning, there's a couple guys, him and YouTube Punk, several of them that you mentioned earlier. Sorry, guys, I can't remember everybody. Man, they probably have seen just about every episode. I want to thank you guys. And Danny, where are you from? I'm just kind of curious. In case I'm fixing to do some traveling. I would love to meet some of these guys sometimes.
Absolutely. Let's see. Danny also says he's getting his shot on Tuesday. So he's getting. So
Okay.
Tim, what about you? Are you going to get it?
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm still a little on the fence. And I'm not against it. I just don't know that it's like. I like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine after doing some research the most, which is a one-shot deal. I am still convinced that I had it back in 2019, and as the more data comes out, because I've been exposed several times and haven't caught it since, I don't know that I have the antibodies, but I would really be surprised if I did.
If you donate blood, they can tell you.
Yeah, and I may go to that route first. If I have the antibodies, I may not get it. My sister did have a very bad reaction to her second shot. About the time I get my courage up and I think I'm going to do it, she really got sick for about 3 or 4 days. And, I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not against anything. I'm just still doing my research. And having the time to do it with my work schedule and stuff right now. We were offered because we donated a bunch of food to the Net Health. I could have gotten it a few weeks ago and didn't. I'm not at peace with it. I'll say that much. And that doesn't mean that anybody or I'm an anti-vaxxer. I'm definitely not. I don't want to get into it a big deal, but to me it is different from a traditional vaccine like we're used to, and so I'm still researching. I want to make a good informed decision and not just kind of because I can. So I'm really my father-in-law got it. My mother-in-law will not get it. They are at odds about it, and I don't want to be like that. It's not even a moral question for me. It's just I'm really worried about having not been sick, not getting it, and maybe getting sick. I don't take the flu vaccine. I haven't had it since I was 15, but my doctor pushes it every year. You need to get it. You need to get it. And I don't see the need for the flu vaccine for me personally. But so we'll leave it at that. That's where I am. I'm kind of on the fence.
Yeah, and I understand that.
I think there's going to be a time when everybody will probably, because we're going to want to go back to Europe, or we're going to want to travel, and I think especially if there's any kind of flare-ups. I think that eventually we'll all be required to do that kind of traveling like I want to do. I'm just not right there yet.
Yeah, and Tim, I'm the opposite of you. I get my flu shot every year, and it's different when you're married to a nurse because she's always bringing home stuff. So you have to,
Yeah, and you're kind of at a high risk.
Exactly. I mean, we don't know. She never tested positive for COVID, but there were several times where she had very COVID-like symptoms. And not everybody tests positive. And so, we just want to be as safe as possible. Now, with that said, I don't really think I want to let my kids have it because they haven't done sufficient testing on the kids. And so, the only way I'll let my kids have it is probably once I'm convinced that the testing that they've done is enough. And so I don't even envision them getting it until probably next year, even if it's available. So just because, I'm a little bit more protective of my kids because of that. They've done extensive research, though, on adults, and it seems to be very safe as far as adults are concerned. And like you mentioned, the Johnson & Johnson is more of a traditional vaccine, but I have seen that it is not as effective as the Pfizer and the Moderna typically in people. So it just depends. But it doesn't matter though with the Johnson & Johnson because they were saying that they pretty much all prevent hospitalizations and deaths, and that's really what we're trying to go for. Right. So YouTube Punk says, anybody know how long the antibodies last? They do not know how long the antibodies last from the vaccines yet. Apparently the people who have taken it early have continued to have antibodies, so they don't know exactly how long it lasts, but I'm sure we'll find out at some point.
Yeah, I was reading today that it may only last up to 6 months. But again, eventually, I think that the widespread of it, will go way down. But it just how do you eradicate it? Is the key. To keep it from ever happening.
So that's the thing. I'm hoping that we can all get vaccinated, and it'll be like polio. That's what I hope. And eventually it'll just go away. That is my absolute hope.
You remember when I lived with my friend Patrick for a while, and he had polio because he didn't get vaccinated. Of course, he was probably in his mid-60s then, and that's been about 5 years ago, so he's probably about 70. And having lived with somebody, you think, wow, this could have been prevented with a shot, is one thing that does give me pause and hope that, it may come down to it that I may do this.
Yeah, absolutely. YouTube Punk says, what about the antibodies from having the virus? I've heard 4 to 6 months is how long the antibodies supposedly last, but you shouldn't probably be taking your medical advice from me. That's just what I've heard. So that once you have it and you have the antibodies in your system, that they can stay there for up to 4 to 6 months before you have to, before they go away. I don't know that for a fact, though. I don't know. There's probably more testing that needs to be done, but it just depends. So, but anyway, Tim, outside of vaccine and COVID stuff, how was your March? What else did you do throughout March? You had your birthday. Obviously, you celebrated a little early, but you had your birthday.
Right. And we must mention that your birthday is coming up on Easter Sunday, right? You get to be Easter birthday. How often does that happen?
I think it's happened 2 other times.
Wow. Okay.
So it does happen. It's just the timing of my birthday. I was actually born on a Sunday, not an Easter Sunday, but I was born on a Sunday. So.
Right. So after my birthday, we just kind of went into this very busy mode. In fact, you might remember, for those who've been watching long enough, several months ago we had grand opening, and I was there, and it was very busy. We're beating the grand opening numbers that we were doing back then, which says a lot, especially since a Chick-fil-A opened near us. Things like that. We're just busy, and it seems like that it's going okay, but it's hard on an old man, I get pretty sore and stuff. But other than that, I said we had mentioned some about my son, and if you listen to the podcast, he went to Marine boot camp, and he did graduate boot camp and combat school. And today he flew to North Carolina, and then he has a 12-hour bus ride to Rhode Island. We were under the impression he would go to Pensacola for a long time, and then we heard Athens, Georgia, and I thought, oh, that'd be cool. Maybe we could go see him around the Southern Fried Game Room Expo this summer if they have it. And but he ends up in Rhode Island, which maybe there's somebody on listening that lives up there. It's a long ways from Texas, John. 27 hours. We even talked about driving his Mustang to him and flying back, but I don't know if I want to drive this Mustang 27 hours. I'd probably have to break that over 3 days for me. But so he is in training school now. We don't know. We haven't seen him since October because of COVID. We didn't get to go to graduation, but we're very proud of him. One story I would like to tell is that he was, the Crucible is, if you've never heard of it, it is the last final days of Marine basic training, and it's a very tough, I think it's 54 hours, and they only get a few meals and a few hours of sleep. They really do a lot of team building exercises, but at the end, they have to go way up this hill. In fact, if it rains at all, the vehicles can't even make it up. It's really steep. And so we heard that he got to the top, and then he went back down and helped one of the guys up the hill. And so, you know, I was just very proud of him in that moment and what it took to do that. I think he said they videoed it, and so maybe we'll get to see that. So very, very, very proud just that he chose to serve our country. But as a parent, it's also scary and a scary time, and we can't see him, haven't seen him. But at least now he has his phone, so we can FaceTime and talk to him some. So that has really, March was in such a limbo, like where's he going, what's he doing? We get to talk to him for 5 minutes, and we wouldn't hear from him for several days. Is this limbo stage is kind of where we've been lately.
So I think that's awesome, Tim, and I'm glad that he was able to graduate and do what he did. And Tim, giving your life or giving your time for your country like that is a big deal. And so just want to applaud his efforts of keeping us safe. So it means a lot. But
well, and he's going to get electronics training, which is nice. I mean, he'll come out better skilled than me, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned that when I was talking to Gary, he said he learned a lot of what he learned in the Army. Because he was in the Army, and so a lot about electronics that he learned was in the Army. And so just to give you an idea, they do get a really good background in electronics. And Tim, it may be one of the last places that's really teaching that anymore.
Maybe so.
Well, we look forward to hearing more about him, Tim, and hopefully he's going to like it in Rhode Island. So I'm sure it's going to be tough, though.
Yeah, so eventually, maybe even within the next few weeks, if he doesn't get to come home, we'll probably be going to Rhode Island. So anybody that lives in that area, there's about 8 states I haven't been to, and 4 of them are in that corner: Delaware, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Maine. So I would really love to maybe make a little trip right there if we get to go.
There you go. Danny was from Indiana, by the way, Tim. We were talking about states. So there you go. He also says on the virus, he says, I feel the same way as Tim. I never get sick, never got the flu shot either. My mom had some side effects from the shot, but she's okay now. But he's still getting it, apparently. So, let's see. And YouTube Punk says you need to do DDP yoga, Tim. Are you familiar with DDP yoga?
Yes, I am. And I definitely would love to do some of that and help. It's definitely I need to stretch more for sure.
I think about that, too. I mean, Tim, one day I was out there painting our swing set for my kids. We have like a wooden swing set. And I guess I'm not used to holding my arms up like this for a really long time, and it was super sore the next day. So now I added jumping jacks into my routine just so I get my arms up above my head every so often. So, because I do feel like that's something that we neglect quite often. So, like, when was the last time you reached over your head for an extended period of time?
Yeah, not very long.
So, but anyway, so there you go.
Getting a cup down from Dairy Queen. Here's your large.
There you go. Hey, it's the same thing. You see, you're working it out. But anyway, my March was pretty good. We've been busy, Tim, as always, just trying to do stuff. I did pick up the Galaga cabinet, little mini Galaga cabinet like you saw. Tim, and something I didn't mention on the show, I ordered the Arcade 1-Up Attack from Mars pinball machine.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know when it's coming, because the pre-order date, you have a pre-order, but like they ship them randomly. So, I mean, who knows when it's coming, but I did go ahead and order it. If you guys haven't seen it, it's got 10 tables on it. It's got Attack from Mars, High Speed 2 to Getaway, Tim. It's got No Good Gophers and a couple other favorites. So,
fun.
So, man, for the price, I mean, you can't buy a pinball machine for like $600, $500. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And so, it plays 10 tables. I'm going to at least give it a shot. And
I bet the kids will like
yeah, I
it.
think so. I mean, they love to play pinball anyway, Tim. They love the pinball machines now, but I think it'll be fun for them. It'll be a little bit more their size than the full size pinball machines, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of room, thankfully. And I think I'm going to get rid of some of my other arcade 1-ups to make room for it. So, I was able to get one pre-ordered. I'm excited about that. So hopefully it'll be coming soon. I'll give an update on that as I continue on. Tim, I have finished buying PlayStation 5s for people. I ended up with 10 total, 7 disc and 3 digital, and I sold the last one to one of my best friends from grade school. We went way back. His son turned 15, and he wanted one. He wanted one for his birthday, so I sold him one. And Tim, I only charged what I paid for it, but he did tip me, which was very generous of him. But it just took so much time to try to buy these things. I'm done with it. It's just the amount of time.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot. I still have some friends that are out there looking. Stock's going to get better, but Tim, something everybody needs to be aware of, especially those of us who invest, is that there's a chip shortage on the horizon, which means that anything that uses chips is either going to go up in price or they're going to stop manufacturing for a while. So cars, for instance, Tim, I don't know if you've been watching the GM shutdowns. They actually shut down several plants over chip shortages recently. So.
Wow, didn't know that.
So we'll slide into investment talk real quick, Tim. So anything that uses chips is going to be, you may see some slowdown on. Apple has said they're going to go up on their next iPhone probably due to the chip shortage. And like I said, GM is halting production due to chip shortages. So if you want to invest in some semiconductor companies right now, it may not be a bad idea. Tim, I mentioned to you I did get a little bit of stimulus. It was prorated, but I did get a little bit, and I was able to throw that into I threw that into some ETFs just so it would grow, because we all know that savings accounts are about nil right now. So
Right.
So that's about the only investing I've been doing. I will say that Dave & Buster's stock has gone up tremendously over like the last month. I want to say it's gone up 30% or something to that effect.
Nice.
So and as people know, I'm a long time Dave & Buster's stockholder. So I'm happy about that. But other than that, I just threw some money into. I just parked basically my money into some ETFs, and the ones that I parked it into, Tim, were high yield dividend ETFs. And I saw a guy who was investing in those. He has like 200 shares of one of the ETF dividend stocks, and he makes I think it's 68 cents per share on the dividend typically. I mean, that can end up being some real income depending on how many shares you have.
Right.
So something to keep in mind. But like I said, I just parked it there just to keep it safe. What about you though? What moves have you made?
Well, you enlightened me on the NFT stock. So I have Ethereum I've been buying. When it goes down below 1,700, I'm buying partial shares. And now it was over 1,900 today, so those have been pretty profitable for me. Electric cars are really hot right now. I've had some luck in that area. But mostly I've been working and just playing my investments really safe right now, because I haven't had quite the time to watch. As we talk about penny stocks, you really have to watch them.
Which is why I took my lump sums and put it into ETFs, Tim. Because the ETFs are pretty safe for the most part. You don't have to worry too much. The ones I parked it in have very low fees anyway, Tim. So it's a good thing to do if you're not wanting to watch the market real closely and still want some growth from it.
Yeah, Ethereum is at 1952. And Dogecoin is at 0.059, and I've been buying those under 1,600 and under 50 cents now for a while. $5, $10, $20 at a time. So those are keeping me in the green.
There you go. Yeah, a lot of people, if you're not familiar with NFTs, non-fungible tokens, Tim, you need to do some research on it. It's a very interesting technology. Of course, the NBA is using it for their Top Shots, if you're interested in that. But you've also probably seen a lot of news articles about, like Jack Dorsey selling his first tweet on NFT for like $1 million or whatever it is. But it's a really cool tech, Tim. They are still having some problems with it, if you've read some of those articles too. So it's not like it's still definitely in a beta test, I would say. But it is definitely something to keep in mind, because going forward, it may be the new way that we distribute everything, Tim. It may be that. So.
And everybody's heard of 23andMe by now. It's very popular. VGAC is going to do they're talking about a merger. So I have been buying VGAC stock because I think once the merger goes through, that will get a lot of attention. And it's about a $10 stock. If somebody just has maybe $100, you want to buy 10 shares or something. I think that if the merger is officially announced, do your research, that could definitely be profitable.
Sounds good, Tim. So there's some suggestions from me and Tim. But what are you guys doing? If you're in the stock market, what are you doing? We'd love for you guys to tell us. So if you're in the live chat tonight, let us know what you're investing in. Tim, there is some Arcade 1-Up talk. Danny says Arcade 1-Up needs to make a Gauntlet cabinet. And Gauntlet 1, 2, and maybe Legacy. That would be cool. I think Gauntlet's a very popular game, Tim. I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like Arcade 1-Up has had a lot of success licensing Midway games in particular. The one area they seem to have difficulties in is Nintendo games, Tim.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if we're ever going to see a Donkey Kong Arcade 1-Up or even they've got like the Marvel license, but I don't know if they could do Tron necessarily. I think Tron would be a little bit difficult too to get. So I don't know. You never know. So YouTube Punk says he's not feeling the NFTs. I'm not investing in them that way right now. So, but I may, I'm not like buying NFTs because I do think the tech is kind of unproven at this point. It's very cool tech. I mean, the way it works. But I don't know. It seems like they're having some problems with it. And I don't want to invest in anything they're having problems in for fear that it may scare off investors, if that makes sense. So, I don't know. We may see more. Maybe we'll distribute. Hey, I'll start editing videos, guys, and I'm going to start distributing those on NFT. What do you think, Tim?
There you go.
No more YouTube for us. We're going to NFTs. So, but I think the tech is cool. The question is how proven it is. I don't know. So we'll see going forward. Tim, let's pivot to sports. Have you been watching anything sports-wise lately?
Nothing. Maybe a little college basketball, and I've even kind of lost track with that.
Well, I know that it seems like there were a lot of double-digit seeds that made the Final Four, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with it that close, but I know that much. So
I know most of my picks were out real early.
There you go. So I have been watching a little bit of hockey, a little bit of basketball when I have time, Tim. But the big thing I'm excited for, and I mentioned it, I think, in the main podcast, is baseball season. Big baseball fan. Texas Rangers are going to be terrible, but I'm still looking forward to it. Tim, another reason I got my vaccine is because I do want to go to a Ranger game at some point. And so I want to make sure that I'm well vaccinated when that happens. And so I want to go to the new stadium, kind of check it out and all that kind of stuff. Today, the game was just ridiculous because it's like the strike zone had the umpire had like a mini strike zone basically. And I'm going to check the score here, real quick here, Tim. But I think we probably lost. We were ahead at one point.
The final four is Gonzaga versus UCLA. That's 1 versus 11. But actually, the other game is 1 versus 2. Two Texas teams. Baylor, number 1 versus number 2 Houston.
Oh, there you go. So only one double-digit seed in there then.
Yeah.
But, no, okay, so it's the top of the ninth. It's 10-14 Kansas City right now, Tim. That's what happens when your strike zone is like the size of a donut. So, they were walking people all over the place. And, the pitchers, I felt bad for the pitchers because, and it just makes me really want an automated strike zone, Tim. If you're a baseball fan.
I think so. It's time.
Exactly. Anything else about sports, Tim, before we move on? Any other comments?
No.
So your bracket was busted like first day, or?
Yeah. Just watching. I don't have time. I wish I had time to watch more.
There you go. Tim, just a real quick cord-cutting talk. One of the shows that I'm going to talk about here is on HBO Max, and if you want HBO Max, they're going to have a cheaper ad-supported tier coming in June. So for those people who want to subscribe to HBO Max but don't want to pay the full $14, $15 that is right now, if you wait till June, there will be an ad-supported tier, but it will not have the first-run movies like the full tier does, Tim. So like, all of the movies that were, the last one was King Kong versus Godzilla. You won't get that.
I haven't seen that yet. But
yeah, I was about to say, you won't get that under the ad-support tier. But it'll be cheaper. And there's still a lot of great content, even without the first-run movies on there, Tim. It's got a lot of great stuff on it. So, Tim, let's go first to the stuff we both watched. So, that way we can kind of talk about that first. So, You watched and I watched Coming to America, the number 2, the sequel to Coming to America on Prime Video. What did you think of that?
It was pretty funny overall, and you know, it was kind of a good storyline how he would end up back in America. It was entertaining. It wasn't the best movie I ever saw, or even the funniest Eddie Murphy, but it was good to see him. And Arsenio Hall, I forget how funny he is, and you don't see him in movies much anymore. So them two together definitely made a lot of the characters they played. The barbershop scenes were just hilarious. So anyway, just kind of about what I expected from it. Very entertaining, funny. You know, not outstanding, but you know, I won't watch it 10 times, but it was good.
Yeah, if I would have gone to the movie theater and paid for it, I probably would have been disappointed. But the fact that I got to watch it on Amazon Prime Video for free with my subscription, it was just like, you know, it's good for what it is.
Right.
So, but you know, I'm not, you know, I mean, I guess I'm ambivalent on it. It was basically like a new remake of the first one, is really the way I looked at it. I looked at it less of a sequel and more kind of like a remake.
Yeah.
You know, which is fine. And it was funny. And like, I laughed at parts. But like I said, I don't know if I would have gone to the theater and saw it. But for something on a streaming service that was free, it was definitely worth it. So definitely worth a watch.
Yep.
So where does it end up on your thumb scale?
We'll give it a full thumbs up. How about 11 o'clock?
11 o'clock.
Wasn't here. About right here.
I'll also agree with Tim. I think it was about there. Now, Tim, the other thing we both watched was on Netflix, and that was The Last Blockbuster. What did you think of The Last Blockbuster?
Now, that really, my wife and I both watched that, and we both enjoyed it. It was just so interesting, brought back a flood of memories. And, you know, that if you haven't seen it, there is literally one Blockbuster left still open. And it was, you know, just, I remember, I know, John, you remember renting games and videos there and looking through they brought a lot of that stuff out, you know, the nostalgia of, oh, you don't have it? Well, can I look through the recent returns and digging through there and all of a sudden finding that one movie? I can even remember way back before that when we didn't even have a VCR at home and you could rent a VCR for like $15. We might have like 8 movies and just watch all over the weekend. Some of you guys don't remember that, but they didn't even have that many movies on TV, you know?
Yeah, it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very enjoyable. It brought back a lot of memories, like you mentioned, Tim. Friday night going to Blockbuster, and like I remember, you know, me and my family, we'd all go, and like one of us would always camp out where the returns were, so we could snag whatever the newest releases were when the people returned them. So, yeah, it was. I bought a lot of movies and games from Blockbuster over the years too, Tim. The stuff they put in the used bins, you know, and so I still have a lot of that stuff. But you know, it's just, you know, Netflix is great, streaming services are great, but it's not the same as actually picking up a physical box, taking home a physical tape. You know, and you know, a lot of people. The documentary says this too, Tim. A lot of people think Netflix killed Blockbuster, but it really wasn't them.
No. That's one thing that they talked a lot about in there, that it wasn't. Now, they did miss a huge opportunity to buy Netflix or to merge or to even go more that direction. They missed out some, but that was a lot of mismanagement. They did talk about that a lot. That is not what killed it.
And the no late fees thing, Tim, was terrible. Like, they should have never done that. And even when I heard it, I'm like, how in the world are they going to make money? And it turned out they didn't.
Right, people kept
exactly.
Them. They just
so
there's probably people in the chat room right now that's got one. You never returned it. Well, there's no late fee. They went out of business. So what are you going to do, right?
Right, exactly. But I do still have my Blockbuster card, Tim.
Oh, nice.
So I still have it. When I turned 18, it was the first thing I got. You know, I mean, because I think you had to be 18 there. I mean, you could drive.
Yeah, I think so. Or you had to have a credit card.
Right,
you know?
Exactly. But I think when I turned 18 is when I first got a Blockbuster card. And I still have it. It's still here. And, you know, I tell you, it's cool. So, YouTube Punk says The Last Blockbuster was good. Let's see. a couple other things. YouTube Punk says, I watched Invincible on Amazon. That is on my watch list. It is a cartoon, kind of an adult-based superhero cartoon, Tim, Invincible, if you haven't seen it. That's on my watch list. I haven't seen it. Let us know if it's good. He says it's pretty good, not safe for kids. Didn't think it would be.
Okay.
Let's see. Watched the new Tom and Jerry with my daughter. Was pretty good. Grew up on that cartoon, though. I also watched Tom and Jerry. I think we talked about... I was about to say, we talked about that last month, Tim. It was okay. It was okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think I might have mentioned this last month too. Raya and the Last Dragon was way better than Tom and Jerry. I liked Raya a lot. Better than Frozen 2. Wow. If you're looking at cartoon movies. So, not as good as Frozen, but better than Frozen 2. Okay. So, but you have to pay $30 for it on Disney Plus if you do that. And it's worth it if you've got kids, but for Tim, I wouldn't recommend it for you, obviously. So, okay. But let's see.
I got great nephews over.
Yeah, exactly. If you had some kids around that you were wanting to entertain for a while, it's worth the $30. Let's see. Looking for movies was fun, but my wife ruined it for me. She could spend literally 3 hours looking. Tim, I mean, me and my wife now, we would go to Blockbuster and rent stuff all the time. I remember when we were binging Alias and 24, we'd actually go up to Blockbuster and get the DVDs and bring them home.
Yeah.
That's how we binge watched.
Wow.
So, that was before streaming services came around. So, let's see. I remember renting video game consoles there too. I did. That's from David. I did rent video game consoles when the PlayStation 1 came out, Tim. We rented it from 49 and More Video Superstore, which is a local video store. We rented it over the Christmas holiday, Tim, and I never wanted to return that thing. But, my parents were not about to throw down all that money on a brand new console, so...
What got me in that movie, John, is something I didn't know. Of course, we were young at the time, is when videos first come out, they were like $100 a piece.
Yep.
That's crazy. For like Smokey and the Bandit or something that's in the Walmart 99-cent bin, that would have been like $100. And Blockbuster actually worked a deal out to really make those cheaper, and the networks were really scared of it, and then they could make a lot of money at it, and that kept a lot of movies going there for a while.
Absolutely. So, let's see. Danny Ransom says, I remember my mom and dad renting me original Nintendo games from rental places. I remember that too. Tim, Blockbuster was not here when the Nintendo was around, but we had two video stores that we liked to go to. We had a local one called Everything Video, and then we had another one called JJ's Video. And we went to JJ's and Everything all the time. Tim, your local one was S&S. I remember going to S&S too.
Yeah, we did that even probably when me and you met. Yep. And we still had a video store then.
Yeah, we were still going to S&S even back in the early 2000s. So, let's see. Do you know about a Capcom arcade game called Mega Man: The Power Battles? They made it for CPS-1. Yeah, we are familiar with that game, 1776. I don't know what you want to know about it, but we are familiar with the game. It's a CPS-1 style game, which means it's built on the same board set as Street Fighter 2, and some other games. But it's just a Mega Man game. I think it's just boss battles, Tim, if I remember correctly. So,
yeah.
David says, Invincible is good. Lots of actors from Walking Dead do the voices for that show. There you go.
Okay.
Tim, what have you been watching individually outside of us?
I started watching... man, my mind just went blank. The Outlander, and I liked it so much I watched all 4 seasons, and then I actually bought the 5th season so I could watch it on Amazon for $15 and for 14 episodes. So $1 an episode.
I know this. Is it about a nurse?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I know. My wife, like a lot of her nursing friends, are into it. She never really got into it. It's pretty adult, right?
Yes, very, very adult. In fact, it's like it's almost hard to watch. It's a little too adult. Like even there's a sex scene every show. Me and my wife laugh. Well, here they go. It's like purposely in there. I don't know. And sometimes you ever seen that it kind of fit the scene, but then it was just unnecessary. It's like, we really didn't need that scene. And so it's kind of like watching old Cinemax or something, It's pretty graphic, and there's a scene where the guy is raped, and I've never watched anything like that, so it's hard to watch. But at least it fits the storyline a little better and lets you know why he felt that way or why he hated this guy so bad. But then there's this underlying theme that is just awesome. And so if you can kind of, I've even fast forwarded through some stuff just because I like the theme, and right now it's really cool. Like they're living in the colonial times in America now. I won't spoil this for anybody, but just for instance, in one scene, she meets this really tall guy and she talks to him, and he's like, "It's very nice to meet you." She's from 1968, by the way. She travels in time. This is not a spoiler. And it's George Washington. And so can you imagine going back in time and meeting George Washington? And, she was like, "Oh, my gosh." And he's like, "What is it?" And she's like, "That guy is, like, awesome, He's like a hero." And they're like, "Him?" He's just a general, Anyway, so that I've kind of finished watching that. Really, just like I said, I have been eating, sleeping, and working. So not much else. What about you?
Yeah, I've got a list here, but real quick, 1776 says he's been looking for that board, Tim, that Mega Man Power Battles. I have seen 2 of those. I've seen 2 arcade games of that. But as far as getting your hands on one, YouTube Punk says you can try like KLOV or eBay. Those are going to be your best bets. And you can contact some people. Tim, some of the Facebook groups have board repair people in them. Sometimes that's the best place to get boards from. Board repair people.
Yeah. Or he's probably better off to find the game.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, Paul Dre's here, Tim.
There's nobody really wants to part with it if it's a working game.
Exactly. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Thanks for being here. So we're about to wrap things up. I'm going to talk about my shows, and then we're going to head out, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Tim, I've got one you need to watch, and that's Operation Varsity Blues on Netflix.
Okay.
You're probably familiar with the premise already.
Yeah.
So, but this documentary about it is really good on Netflix. So, Operation Varsity Blues.
Okay.
So that gets the thumbs up from Jonathan. Of course, that's about the college admission scandal. But Tim, what they do is they take the transcripts from the calls of the guy who was rigging all this stuff, and they reenact them with actors that look like the people.
Oh.
So it's like you're hearing all the conversations that are going on behind the scenes. It's really cool.
Now, is that the one I might have seen where the guy that was involved in the scandal with the Hollywood people trying to get their kids into college?
Yes, that's it.
I saw it.
Oh, there you go.
That was really good.
It was good. So
yeah, kind of a reenactment, which made it more interesting than just a regular documentary.
Agreed. I like the reenactments a lot, which was
he looked like that dude.
He did. Yeah, they got a really good actor to portray the admissions guy. But I thought it was really well done. So if you haven't watched Operation Varsity Blues on Netflix, you should watch it. It's really good.
That is good.
Yeah, Tim recommends it too, apparently. Paul Dre says, "How are you guys?" Oh, we're good. We're just hanging out. Hopefully you're doing good too, Paul. Hopefully you're fixing monitors over there. If you guys don't know, you need to go listen to episode 1 of the Interviews podcast where we interview Paul. That's on the website, by the way. Now, Tim, I've been watching the 2 big Disney Plus shows that are out right now. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is the next Marvel show that's out. And I've also been watching the Mighty Ducks Game Changers.
Okay.
Both of them are very good.
Okay.
So Falcon and Winter Soldier is really good. I don't know if I don't like it as much as WandaVision. WandaVision was really good.
It was great.
But Falcon and Winter Soldier is still very fun. And it's very much in the same style as the Captain America movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if you like the First Avenger, Captain America, the First Avenger, Captain America and Winter Soldier, and Civil War, you're going to like Falcon and the Winter Soldier because it's done in that same style. So
okay, I will like it.
And if you're a big Mighty Ducks fan, you should just watch Game Changers because it's just like the movies. They bring back Emilio Estevez, Tim.
Nice.
So he is Gordon Bombay again. So it just looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I've only seen the first episode. It's the only one that's been released at this point. But it looks like it's going to be really great. So let's see. 1776 also have been hunting for a Gottlieb Spirit, but they are also difficult to get. Maybe one will come up for sale. I don't know about the Gottlieb Spirit. Tim, do you know much about that one?
Nothing about it.
Yeah. So, okay, Tim, this is the one I teased. And
okay.
Do you still have your HBO Max subscription?
Yes.
Okay. So, how much do you know about QAnon?
I thought I knew a little bit about it because I've listened to a couple conspiracy kind of deals. Just thought it was kind of funny in a way. But then when it happened, the White House like it happened, and the crazy guy with the hat, and then I was like, whoa! To me, I thought it was just some crazy conspiracy guys, but it seems like it's a lot more serious than that, and then I kind of shy away from that kind of stuff, now.
So I didn't know much about it, except I knew that all these people were crazy. I mean, that was kind of my interpretation. Sorry if you're a QAnon person. I'm sorry, but
really far out.
What'd you say?
Really far out people, like, have been abducted.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know much about it at all. So there's a new documentary on HBO Max called Q Into the Storm. And it is fascinating. I am riveted by this documentary, Tim, because it's kind of how Q, this guy named Q, who posts on an anonymous message board named 8chan and 4chan and some of the other ones, how he kind of rose to power, and then how people, and he kind of talks cryptically, and then how people interpret his cryptic messages.
Right.
And I did not understand any of this leading up to this documentary. I had no knowledge of QAnon whatsoever, except for the fact that they were crazy people. That was what I knew. So like I said, sorry if you're a QAnon person. I understand a little bit more about what you are now. So, but it's very fascinating, and the whole documentary is trying to figure out kind of who Q is.
Right. Who is the leader guy?
Right, exactly. Who is Q, the guy that's posting on all these anonymous message boards? And it talks about the history of 8chan and kind of how it was founded. And all of this fascinating stuff. It is riveting. Golly. And there's 2 more episodes. I think they both debut on Sunday night. Last 2 episodes. So hopefully they're going to figure out like all this stuff. But like I said, I knew nothing really about QAnon going in, Tim. And look, I'm not a believer, but I find the whole thing just super fascinating. And I think once you watch the documentary, regardless of where you fall politically, you're also going to find the whole thing super fascinating. So
that's kind of what I was hoping, that it wouldn't get too political. It would just be more of the understanding of where it all came from.
And that's really what it is. They don't really try. I mean, they're not really trying to take sides or anything. They're just breaking down what is this Q, what is QAnon, what are these cryptic messages he's posting, who's posting them. They're trying to figure out like who is the guy, who is Q, the guy who's posting all this stuff. And but really, what it comes down to is the way that people interpret it. And there are some people, Tim, that are QAnon people that are very, I guess, sensible would be the word. And like they don't interpret. And then there are radical QAnon people who think that like everything is going to start a war or something.
Right.
So, I mean, so QAnon people can fall anywhere in this little spectrum of people. So you can have people who believe in QAnon that aren't crazy. That's what I'm saying. And then you have people who believe in QAnon that are totally crazy, and they think that everything they're spouting is just, like I said, getting us ready for war. So, I mean, it's really strange. And
it's kind of like people that believe in aliens. You have people that believe there's a possibility that we're not the only ones here. Maybe they've seen something in the sky. And you got other people that are like, aliens talk to me all the time, and they're in my head, and they won't leave me alone. I've been abducted 1,000 times. So that's kind of maybe one way to say it. There's just this spectrum of people that believe something, and then other people that really take it to the extreme. And most of them are very sincere.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's fascinating. I just find the whole thing fascinating. Like I said, I don't know where you fall. Maybe you don't believe in any of it, and that's fine. Or maybe you're a QAnon person, and that's fine too, wherever you are. I'm just saying that as somebody who didn't know hardly anything about it, I watched the documentary, and it was very interesting to me. So, if
I will say this. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. There you go. So I'm a little Q.
There you go. Well, I think it's a good watch, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, because it does explain at least what the whole fascination with Q and QAnon is. It really kind of explains that to you. And I think that was knowledge I was definitely lacking up until that point. So I highly recommend watching Q Into the Storm on HBO Max. And last 2 episodes are on Sunday. It's 6 total episodes. One of the producers on it, Tim, is Adam McKay, who's best known for producing all of those great Will Ferrell movies that you may know of, like Talladega Nights and things like that. So, but anyway, so I say you should give it a watch. Just give it a watch and let me know what you guys think of it. So. I was going to see some of the comments here. YouTube says Falcon is good action. WandaVision was slow burn. Let's see. And yeah, and like all of the Q intelligence, all of the stuff. Like, you know, the thing about it is that, I mean, sometimes it seems like this Q guy is an insider, and then sometimes it just seems like he's spouting just random stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then people take his stuff and try to make it fit like different things that happen to make him out like he's some prophesier or something. It's weird. But like I said, there's people who believe, like you said, like, I mean, I think the alien comparison is a great example of people who, yeah, I believe there may be life on other Earths, and then there's people who like are totally buying into everything alien possible, right? Like, right. You know, and then in QAnon's the same way. There's people who believe, well, Q sounds like he's a government insider, but I don't know really what he's saying when he says stuff. And there's people who are like, oh, when he says this, he means this, 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 and this. They have it all translated, and they know exactly like the way they interpret it. And it's very interesting. That's all I'm going to say. Like I said, politically, it doesn't matter where you fall. I think you'll still find it interesting. So, but, and yeah, YouTube Punk says Q has ripped families apart. It really has, unfortunately. And that's one of the things they focus on in the documentary is how, like, you know, people have alienated themselves from like families and friends because they have because, you know, they believe in Q period. I mean, you know, like, and their family may not. So, but it's like I said, just watch the documentary. It's a great watch for sure. 1776. I guess Q is more of a team and not just one person. Just wonder if there's something bigger behind the whole thing. All the Q dates came and went. It was a troll. Just took up a lot of gullible folks. I mean, like I said, I don't know where you fall, and it doesn't matter where you fall as far as believing it. I think you'll still find it fascinating. So, Tim, anything else before we sign off?
No, I'm ready to go, guys. It's getting late, and I thank everybody for watching, but I'm ready for supper.
I want to thank everybody for watching, too, especially with all the technical difficulties we have. We want to apologize for that, guys. You know, it's the way live streams go, and I had some of my settings screwed up from doing some testing things, and obviously, hopefully going forward, we will, you know, we won't have that many issues. I think we had some internet problems, too, Tim, after looking at some stuff during the break. I think we had some of that, too. But you never know what's going to happen. That's why it's live, right, Tim?
Right.
So, hey, I'm telling you, Tim, after my second shot, you and me, same room.
Good deal.
So we'll do May separate, and then maybe June we can look at doing it together again.
That sounds great.
Together again for the first time in a long time. So, but YouTube Punk says it's past your bedtime, Tim.
Yeah, it is.
You got to work tomorrow?
Yeah.
What time you got to get up?
3:50.
Oh my goodness. It's too early, Tim.
Yeah, it is.
So anyway, well, you go get some sleep and go eat some dinner. Everybody who's in the chat room, thank you guys for joining us, and we hope to see you in May. Have a nice little break, everybody, because like I said, I think we've got 5 weeks between this one and the next one, which means that we'll be... Yes, we do. So that's going to be May 6th, Tim. So May 6th. We'll see everybody for episode 51. Take care. Have a good night.
Good
See you soon. Bye.